It is Monday night in East Lansing. Come on in, gather in, file in, gather around East Lansing, Michigan. Come on in. We're going to talk about your 5-0 Michigan State Spartans, ranked number 11 in the country, coming off victory over Western Kentucky, a hard-earned victory. Western Kentucky made you sweat a little bit. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. My name is Jim Comparoni, publisher, SpartanMag.com. SpartanMag.com is the source of Michigan State sports. It is the church of what's happening now with Michigan State sports, as is the Underground Bunker message board, the daily narrative, the nerve center of Michigan State sports, Michigan State football in particular, Michigan State basketball and recruiting, all that nonsense. We cover it for you guys, the Michigan State fans. We have a good time doing it. Had a good time covering that game on Saturday night, up real late, trying to get some articles in there. Did a 5,000-word 3-2-1 trends, schemes, and analysis story on what took place at Spartan Stadium the night before. We'll be getting into that and looking ahead a little bit. I got a little echo going on. You guys hear an echo at all? Seems like there's an echo coming through here. It's bothering me a little bit. That's why I double-checked the sound a minute ago. But we're going to roll with it and have a good time. Michigan State 48-31 victory over Western Kentucky. Good crowd on hand. Loud again. Got a big lead. Some fans went back to the tailgates. Got down to a 2-touchdown lead later on. But Michigan State stayed aggressive and put that one away. We'll be talking about what went wrong, what went right, the Cal Holiday call, and all kinds of good stuff here at SpartanMag.com. The way this works is over at the Underground Bunker message board, which is a premium message board for SpartanMag.com subscribers, I invite Michigan State fans and subscribers to go ahead and post any questions that they have. I did that earlier today, so those questions are right here. And we'll be going over those questions mailbag style. In the meantime, over there in the chat area, feel free to post some questions over there. Good to see we've got a good crowd here already. Hey, real good viewership last week. We appreciate it. We're getting up near 4,000 subscribers, so if you've not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do so. Give us a thumbs up. It helps get the word out to Michigan State fans and Michigan State people on YouTube that do searches for Michigan State content. They'll find us, and it'll make this program stronger as we go. Let's go to the first question right away. I've not narrowed. I skimmed through these questions earlier. A lot of times I'll go through the questions and hammer them down a little bit so that I can get to my answer a little bit more efficiently, but now we're just going to roll into it because I was going over the film again a minute ago, scrambling through it, zooming through it, because I know a lot of people are wondering what went wrong with the offense in the second half and why the heck couldn't Michigan State get that Western Kentucky offense stopped. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. But let's go to question number one. It comes from, who we got here? Tampa Spartan from Tampa, Florida. And by the way, over at the Underground Bunker message board at SpartanMag.com, if you're a subscriber, when you post questions, make sure to let us know where you're from. We like to shout out your hometown and give the listeners an idea of the breadth of Spartan Mag Live and the SpartanMag.com community. It's a web community, ladies and gentlemen. Web community. And there's no neighborhood association fees necessarily. There is a cost to subscribe because this is my full-time job. I've got Paul Konadijk does a great job as a full-time writer for me also. And Noah Sprunger doing a great job as an intern. Jason Killip, great job as an intern. Ricardo Cooney, senior writer, SpartanMag.com. Ricardo Cooney has known me since I was 19 years old. And we're really always pleased to see him in the press box and the work that he does for us. Good feature writer. Does some good things. In a lot of ways. We love Rico Cooney. Anyway, question number one from Tampa Spartan. He says, what are your thoughts regarding the balance of the 2022 recruiting class? You said Tucker getting wins to pair with his recruiting organization and style would reap success. Well, here we are at number 11 in the nation. Number 11 in the nation, Michigan State, 5-0. It's helping. And, you know, the Michigan State recruiting class right now is, you know, they don't have a lot of room. Scholarship room. Aaron Mays. Thank you, Aaron Mays, for your personal sponsorship in the tip jar starting things off tonight. That's a happy Spartan. I think Aaron Mays is out in California. Appreciate that. Now, remember, if you do a super chat in the tip jar and you've got a question, your question will go right to the top and we'll get right to it. But appreciate that, Aaron. Really do. Thank you. As far as Michigan State recruiting goes, the Michigan State recruiting class just got a big commitment from 4-star defensive back athlete Dylan Tatum from West Bloomfield High School, West Bloomfield, Michigan. And Michigan State's recruiting class right now is ranked number 11 in the country. So you're saying here we are ranked number 11. I don't know if you mean the AP poll for the current team or the recruiting rankings at number 11. Well, Michigan State with 20 commitments. I've not done the math to find out exactly how much scholarship room they have. Mel Tucker's not big on divulging that information. The people that he recruits against, he would rather that they not know exactly how much scholarship space Michigan State has. So Michigan State, let's say they've got 5 slots left. I'm not sure what the number is. I don't know how many players are going to be coming and going. If you want to get 2 or 3 more commitments, do you save 2 for people in the transfer portal? Are you anticipating 4 or 5 guys that are leaving for the portal? Maybe 5 or 6 if you're going to be pushing people out. I'm not sure what that number is. It's fluid, and it is a science, and they've got people on that all the time. So where does it so you're asking the combination of Mel Tucker's organization and his style combined with Michigan State winning football games, what's that going to do with recruiting? It's helping right now to help them get Dylan Tatum, which moved Michigan State up to number 11 in the country. I don't know if they can stay number 11 in the star ranking average. I think Michigan State, is in the top 30 somewhere. As other programs get their full allotment of scholarship commitments, I would imagine Michigan State would probably drop outside of the top 15 with this recruiting class overall, probably toward number 20, unless they can finish strong with a couple of interesting talents that are still out there. Including Winfield, the 4-star wide receiver from Texas who's committed to the Longhorns. He was here this weekend. That was big news. He's not doing any interviews. But that would be a big addition to this recruiting class if they could get him in terms of the recruiting points and also to get another talented receiver. And when you're seeing what Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor are doing and Trey Mosley, Michigan State looking increasingly like a nice spot for wide receivers, especially when considering that Peyton Thorne has a couple more years of eligibility. And then Caden Hauser with an interesting game last week. I watched that one late night, Friday night, out in California. John Bosco Prep, that's the quarterback commitment for Michigan State. John Bosco Prep is ranked the number 3 team in the country. They took on Mater Dei High School, which is number 1 in the country. It's number 1 versus number 3. Excellent game. Crazy talent on the field. Really interesting. High-level athleticism, high-level sophistication, offensively and defensively. And Caden Hauser started the game and did some really impressive things. The backup quarterback, a junior, he's a 4-star guy also, and he's got great talent. So they alternate reps going back and forth. At first, I thought Hauser was kind of outplaying. They both played real well. But overall, Mater Dei had too much and won by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Second time they played in about 6 months. They played in April also. But Caden Hauser turned in some plays in that first half with his feet, scramble to run, quick release, strong arm. Really an interesting quarterback. So you have him coming in for the future as well, which is not a bad thing. So you get Dylan Tatum. So you're asking, with Michigan State winning some football games, when will that have an impact on recruiting? It already has. Going 4-0 to get the commitment from Dylan Tatum, now 5-0. Dylan Tatum loved Michigan State, liked a lot about it, liked the coaches, liked Mel Tucker, liked the vibe, liked everything. But if Michigan State had started off 0-4, he wouldn't have been committed to Michigan State. So it helps to get Tatum. It helps to keep some of these other ones. So now Winfield, he got an eye full on Saturday. Michigan State's going to be in there. We'll see what happens. Goodwin, high 4-star offensive lineman from Indiana. Keontae Goodwin, he's committed to Kentucky. Michigan State's in there. Michigan State's making some progress there. So those are a couple that they might be able to finish with. And then you get into the portal. Starting with this strong season, the portal. I think Michigan State's going to be looking for possibly tight end, possibly defensive end or 2, maybe another offensive tackle because they are going to be graduating a lot of offensive linemen. So Michigan State goes into the portal with more strength this year. Michigan State did a great job in evaluation in the portal last year. Everybody knows they went out and got 15 players. Kenneth Walker, I don't think anyone had any idea that he was going to become a Heisman frontrunner. It's early, it's October. I don't want to be talking about September Heismans and that type of thing. But if they give out an award for the September Seneca Wallace September Heisman Award or Denard Robinson or the Tate Forcier September Heisman Award. Kenneth Walker would be right there. And why not? You're 5-0, you're number 11 in the country, and leading the nation in rushing. I don't know if he still does. I've not checked the stats this week. But anytime you're leading the nation in rushing and your team is on the edge of the top 10 and undefeated, you're in the top 5. You're going to be going to New York City. I'm not saying he will sustain that. I'm not saying Michigan State will sustain that. But if you're looking for that Seneca Wallace early October Heisman, he's right there. Might be a good year. I think it's a good year. I mean, Georgia's the best team right now, and their defense is dominant. I would look to find the best defensive player at Georgia, and I would give that person a lot of time in evaluation for a vote. This would be a good year for a defensive player to get it. But that won't happen, I don't think. Anyway, so when does it happen? It could happen with those two guys, but mostly when you win this year, it carries over to recruiting next year. So this year that they're recruiting right now is the 2022 class. I would expect recruiting strength to carry over to the 2023 class. Michigan State with one commitment from the 2023 class, tight end from Dexter, and there'll be more coming, obviously. Question number 2. I'll forget the numbers on these, so I like to write them down. I'm going to try to make a little note to myself. Question number 2. This is Sherlock from Sterling Heights, Michigan. He says, if Michigan State's basketball season started today, who would be Michigan State's starting 5? Getting right to the basketball, huh? Well, I think you would have Bingham starting at the 5. You'd have Malik Hall at the 4. You would have Max Christie at one wing, Gabe Brown at the other wing, and likely, they were going to give every opportunity for A.J. Hoggard to start, but the way Tyson Walker looked on Saturday, it'll be hard to keep him out of the starting lineup. Maybe I know that they want to make Tyson work for it and not just hand him the keys to it right away. But he's got some special distribution talents, so I think he's the guy. Now, first game of the year, sometimes Izzo will start people, just to stroke people a little bit, just to keep them happy, knowing that it might evolve into something else later. By game 5, I would expect Bingham to remain the starter with Hall ahead of Hauser a little bit. Hauser's going to start a few games this year also, because when you lose a game, Izzo will look to shuffle it up. But I think it's going to begin with Hall and Christie and Brown, and there'll be times probably when Christie doesn't start. There'll be a lot of times when Christie's the best player on the team. But again, if they lose a game on the road at Illinois, mid-season, something like that, Izzo wants to shake it up. That's it's rare that any particular player starts every single game. But you're asking about first game of the season, I think those are the 5. I think Hall ahead of Hauser right now, but that's fluid. And I would say Tyson Walker ahead of Hoggard. That's a little bit fluid. By February, Walker will definitely be the starting point guard. But the first game of the year, with the way Izzo does it, it's hard to say. Let's go to Mike from Lansing. He says, in watching Thorne on tape, have you seen him go through progressions, or is he mostly throwing on the first read? I read that question just for the first time maybe about 20 minutes ago, and I just finished rewatching the Western Kentucky game, and I did not look for that specifically. I kind of wished I would have. The deep post to Reed at the beginning of the game, 46 yards, threw him open. That was the first read. He liked the matchup, and also the safeties were playing down to stop the run. So in those safeties, even if it were 2 deep safeties, Reed with his quickness in that post could get behind them. Bubble screens, a lot of those, that's just a now type of thing. It's not a read. There was a 3rd and 8 during Michigan State's drive when they went up 21-3, and I thought Thorne was really calm, poised, sharp, smooth, and hit Mosley on his slot, deep out. And Matt Allen, by the way, did a real good job versus number 10, D'Angelo Malone, an NFL prospect defensive end. Number 10 was stunting inside, and Allen did a good job seeing him and picking him up on pass protection on that one. But Reed, I think that, or on Mosley on that one, he had good leverage, and Thorne didn't have to make more than one read on a lot of these things. A very next play action touchdown to Jaden Reed. Reed with a nod to the seam, kind of like a skinny post to the seam, nod and turned that corner, and then it was post corner on time, boom. I didn't look to see whether, I'd like to go back and look at that play again to see if Thorne complemented that nod to the post with a look that way or a hitch or anything. I didn't notice. It's a great question. But, 20 out of 30 was Thorne, had 1 or 2 drops that hurt his numbers, but solid, poised, smooth, a really good comeback performance by Thorne after he admittedly struggled, especially in the second half against Nebraska after getting hit a few times. Now, there was a 3rd and 4, one of Thorne's negative plays. Michigan State was up 21-10. I talked about this in the 3-2-1 story on Sunday morning. 3rd down and 4. It's 3rd and 4, and Michigan State had Reed and Naylor sitting. And they brought in Montori Foster and Fitzpatrick. And I said that's kind of a strange time to bring those guys in a 3rd down situation. But 3rd and 4, Michigan State's tendency has been, if you bring Fitzpatrick and Foster in, Michigan State has been running the ball. If they're going to run it and give Reed and Naylor a chance to sit while they run the ball, even though they're excellent blockers. So Michigan State broke tendency on that a little bit. 3rd and 4, you bring those guys in. Are they thinking run? Maybe so. What just happened? What just happened here? Chris Martinez. Coming big. I appreciate that, Chris. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your contribution to the sponsorship tip jar here at SpartanMag Live tonight. Thanks a lot, Chris. And remember, if you throw something in the tip jar, your question goes straight to the top. But I really appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Really do. This channel and the SpartanMag channel here at YouTube is really taking off pretty nicely. You may notice we've been putting a lot of the post-game interviews over here also, and that's created some of the following as well. And it's a fun way to spread the word a little bit about SpartanMag Live, SpartanMag.com. Appreciate it, Chris. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about with Peyton Thorne. It was 3rd and 4. Peyton Thorne had a really good day, but this one, so Michigan State had Naylor and Reed on the bench. So you're thinking, okay, they're running it 3rd and 4. Was 3rd and 4 short enough for them to really be smelling run? Maybe, but you're going to be throwing it. Play action on 3rd and 4. So on one hand, are you outguessing yourself, or do those guys really just need a blow? I don't know. You have Foster in and Fitzpatrick. Play action, and they release outside to take coverage with them to the outside. And the primary was Connor Hayward on a shallow cross. And Hayward was open. And maybe Thorne didn't have the window initially with traffic, with the lineman in front of him. If he had held it a little bit longer and stuck with him right now. But what he did was, this answers your question. He looked at Hayward for a second, then he looked at the other guys, and then came back to Hayward. By that time, he was over here and threw it, and it was incomplete. I don't want to say almost intercepted. It ended up being a deflected pass a little bit. So 3rd and 4, they punt 21-10. Play call was kind of new with Foster and Fitzpatrick clearing out and utilizing Hayward as a go-to man. He was open. So Thorne, as good as he was, that was a case where he looked to other people when it might have been better for him to stick with the primary. I really loved Thorne the way he answered. The first play of drives since Tucker's been here with Jay Johnson, the very first play of a drive, Michigan State a lot of times will do something new with a new look. And they'll do something aggressive. The first play of a drive, I'm sure they've got a list of P&10 drives. That's what D'Antonio used to call it, P&10, first play of a drive. These guys, P&10, they've got a list of wrinkles that they've not shown. Or it might be something, not necessarily a wrinkle or a trick or anything. It might be an aggressive downfield play. And that's what they did in this game. Right after Western Kentucky cut it to 28-16, first play of the next drive, post corner, deep out, Trey Mosley, gain of 20. Just, all right, you guys scored? Okay, we're keeping the gas pedal down. We're going for a chunk. Nice, safe out route. And Mosley, as a slot guy, double move to the corner. It just looked like Michigan State was able to get separation almost anytime they wanted on some of those P&10 or even just 1st and 10 between the 20-yard lines in general. And Michigan State took advantage of some chunk plays. All right, and then another answer, P&10. Western Kentucky had just cut it to 35-16 at the end of the half. Michigan State gets it back. About 3-4 minutes to go. You're thinking, okay, they can just run the clock out. No, Actually, hold on a second. They just cut it to 30. This was later in the game, 45-31. Okay, they just cut it to 14 points. Now is Michigan State going to try to sit on the lead, play the clock, play the 2-touchdown margin? And I'm sure a lot of people were expecting that the way Michigan State's been over the years. Through some good years, they've done it that way. But this time, hey, P10, out route, Jalen Naylor, gain of 20. Just stayed aggressive, stutter and go. And it was a pretty complicated, sophisticated route too. It was a stutter and go, and then a nod to the post, and then post corner to the outside. And it was against press man-to-man. It was against Davion Williams, former Spartan. So press man-to-man, stutter, and then a nod, and then the out route. And he had 5 yards of separation on Davion Williams on that one. I mean, Davion Williams was trying to stay in phase, and he got all crossed up. I mean, excellent route, good play call. It's man-to-man, so I don't know where the safeties were, but on man-to-man, probably if it's man-to-man for Western Kentucky, I'm sure it was single safety deep. So you might not need to look the safeties off a lot when it's man-to-man. You need to move the safeties with your eyes more if it's zone. So this man-to-man, excellent route, staying aggressive. Thorne, aggressiveness of Tucker and Johnson, play design, really excellent. Wait a minute, we got another one. Looks like James Alexander with a very generous sponsorship into the sponsorship tip jar on a Monday night in East Lansing. We really appreciate that. Monday night in East Lansing. I always talk about this. What was Monday nights? Was that back in your day around town in East Lansing, back when you were 20 years old with a fake ID going to the bar? Where would you go on a Monday night for 20 cent drafts, 20 cent paper cup drafts at Sensations or Bazaar, right? Tuesday night was dollar pitchers at Rick's, right? Is that the way it worked? What was it at Max? Remember Max had those plastic cups? Max was nothing but a glorified kegger, right? Back in those days. That's great. Anyway, I spent a little time there. That's all we'll say about the Riv. Chris Martinez saying the Riv. Was Riv a big deal on Monday nights? They have a hamburger deal on Monday nights? I can't remember. Anyway, let's go back to the questions here. Who do we have here? Pete in Atlanta. He says, I was watching his stream, so I was not able to record the game and rewatch it. I have not yet seen a snap count report yet. He says, curious of Noah Harvey, linebacker, if he got more snaps than Van Sumeren and what the linebacker snaps looked like. He says, I noticed Noah Harvey made a few plays, but not sure who actually got more playing time. Also, were the splits due to the Western Kentucky scheme? I was happy for Harvey to see him contribute after he stuck with it despite going from starter to third string. I would agree with that, Pete. We saw Chase Klein move on, go to the transfer portal. Noah Harvey went from starter last year to third string this year, and he stuck with it. He's not in the portal. Harvey leaves. You're playing a spread-up tempo team. Halliday gets a targeting. Halliday had a pretty good game, targeting in the fourth quarter. He's going to sit out the first half at Rutgers. Noah Harvey comes in. Harvey's played, when he's gotten time this year, a lot of times it's been in the red zone, which is interesting. In the red zone, a lot of times they do a little bit more with exotics and some different kind of blitzes and things. And him being a veteran, maybe they think he can handle a little bit better. But that being said, early in this game, they did some Tampa 2 stuff. Cover 2 with Tampa 2 middle linebacker in the middle, dropped it twice in there, the first trip to the red zone, and got a couple incompletions, kicked a field goal. We talked about that in the 3-2-1 story also. So in that case, that was Cal Halliday dropping to the deep middle. He did it better in this game than he did in the Miami game. They only did it once or twice, just a red zone thing. But Noah Harvey's a guy you can depend on to be in the right place in those situations. Now he's going to be starting, I would imagine, against Rutgers. So, yeah, good on him. He stuck with it. And, hey, technically, with him being a third stringer, that's a bottom 40 player now. So a story we used to do, a feature we used to do at SpartanMag.com, Spartan Magazine, we would rank the top 85 players. Sometimes we'd go all the way to 105. Ranked the 105 players in the program, and the bottom 40 were the players ranked from number 45 to 85, because that's outside of your too deep. And Nick Saban used to say, it's your bottom 40 that will determine what kind of team you actually are. And I'm kind of surprised that we've not heard Mel Tucker say that yet. I'm sure he believes it. We've not heard him say that yet. Technically, Noah Harvey would be a bottom 40 player. When you're a third-string linebacker, you're a bottom 40. I do think he is one of the top 40 players on the team. So if I sat down and ranked it, I'm not sure where he would be. But when you can go and get a guy who used to be a starter, and he struggled last year sometimes, but by all accounts, improved, but still lost ground in the rep chart, the pecking order, stuck with it. But when you can go to the third string and bring back a former starter like that, that's an area of depth that Michigan State had. That's a sign of program strength. Michigan State is not strong at all positions in that manner, in that fashion, but they are solid there. And Noah Harvey's going to get that start this weekend. What do we got? What do we have here? Let's go to the board. What do we have? We got F. Panadero. Thanks, F. Appreciate the support. A little bit more bread in the jar. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. He says, what happened on in the third and fourth quarter? Did they put in backups? Should we be concerned? Okay, good question. I knew that question would be coming, and as well it should, because Michigan State only scored 6 points in the second half after lighting up for 42 points in the first half. So, did they put in second stringers? Michigan State's been using the second string offensive line a lot, and in an overtime game against Nebraska, they played the second string offensive line. So the second string is really relied upon in the offensive line. It wasn't their problem. Going over it, Jordan Simmons played a lot of running back, or more running back in the second half, because Kenneth Walker III was a little dinged up, looked like he had an ankle. They're putting tape on it. He limped off once or twice, so that had something to do with it. So you have Kenneth Walker sitting more in the second half, and also there was one play, but we'll go just like we did last week. We'll go over everything that happened in the second half and what went wrong. But in terms of second, let's see, what's that guy's name? All right. First of all, Michigan State only had the ball 4 times in the second half, if you don't count the fifth one. The fifth one, they got it and ran out the clock or whatever. They only had it 4 times. They scored on 2 of the 4 drives. So they didn't produce points. But, each team had some long drives that consumed a lot of clock. You're asking specifically about second stringers. There was one play where second stringers or third stringers were in the game, and it hurt. I didn't realize it until I went back and looked at it again. It was Michigan State's third drive of the second half. That was the play when they turned it over on downs. 4th and 2 stopped at the 46 yard line. 4th and 2 at the 46-yard line. Now, prior to that, the first play of that drive, Jordan Simmons gained 11 yards. I think it was on an inside zone. Probably doesn't matter what it is. Let me see here. There's a split zone. That's with the tight end going across. And good block by A.J. Arcuri on that play. So Simmons gains 11 yards. So that's looking pretty good, right? A couple plays later, now it's 3rd and 2. They give it to Simmons again on a split zone again. So you go back to a play that gained 11 yards earlier. This time, no gain. Defensive tackle, number 0. 2-gap, penetrated into Jarvis. Now, last week we talked about Jarvis when Michigan State was stopped on a 4th down play when Jarvis allowed a defensive tackle to 1-gap past him. And we talked about how good Nebraska was with 2-gapping and 2-gap and engage, and they can go over either shoulder. They can get into you as an offensive lineman, and if they can control you, and it's a battle for control, offensive line versus defensive line, head up. Defensive lineman tries to control and seeing where the ball's going, tries to disengage to this gap, or he can disengage to that gap wherever the ball's going. They might play it more 25% this way, 75% this way while they're 2-gapping. Sometimes it's straight up 50-50. So Nebraska was very good at doing that, getting you back a half yard, 2 yards, or a yard. Really good at that. On that short yardage play instead of 1-gapping. So if you're an offensive lineman and you're accustomed to that defensive lineman the whole game getting into you, you set up and you're going to drive off the ball expecting to get 2-gapped. You're used to it. Then you drive off the ball, and that's the one play where they 1-gap, and they don't try to 2-gap you. They just go right into the gap. And that's what happened to Jarvis on a 4th and 1 last week, which to me is kind of understandable. I mean, if you're a really great offensive lineman, you can play without getting over your skis a little bit and do your thing, but be great enough to transition if you get a changeup like that. The great ones can do that. Jarvis is good. That one was just, a hitter going against the fastball pitcher, then he gets caught on a changeup. That's what that was. All right, so this time, two-gapping. Now, Western Kentucky, they don't two-gap as much as Nebraska, but they do it, and they're not as good at it, but they're not bad at two-gapping their defensive tackles. Number 0 gets into Jarvis and backs him up about a half a yard, maybe 2 feet, and then controlled him, won, saw the ball, disengaged, made the tackle. So I gave Jarvis a little bit of a mulligan last week. That one was a play in which Jarvis got beat a little bit, and it was no gain, so it's 4th and 2 now. As far as run blocking, let me check the Pro Football Focus stats real quick. That's defense. Let me see here. Probably have to go back in. Rats, now I got to find it again. All right, so then it's 4th down and 2, and so Simmons just got stopped. I can see why they ran that play because, like I said, they gained 11 yards earlier in that drive. Now it's 4th and 2, and the coaches, hey, the score is 45. Is it 45-16? At that time, it was 45-21. It's 45-16 at that time. So Michigan State wisely thinking, hey, Western Kentucky's explosive. We're going for it. We're keeping the foot on the gas. We're not going to give the ball back to that offense and tire out our defense. We've got 400 yards of offense at this point. We've got 42 points on the board. We're not punting the ball. We're gaining these 2 yards. Put number 9 back in the game. I can see why they did that. Let me check the run blocking here real quick. According to Pro Football Focus, none of the offensive linemen graded over 70. 70 is, I don't know, let me see what I have here. I ran my own. Is it this one or is it phrases? Let me see. Hold on a second here. All right, 70. All right, 70 and above is B- and above. So nobody quite got to a B- level for run blocking on the offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus. But Luke Campbell was number 1 among offensive linemen at a 69.3. Blake Buter, 66.3. Blake Buter last week graded out better than any Michigan State player internally. I know the way Michigan State grades it. Found out that Blake Buter graded out number 1. 2 times earlier in the year, Jarvis was number 1. But Buter, solid job. Matt Allen was 3rd. Duplain was 4th. Samac was 5th. Then Horst, then Carrick, then Jarvis. Jarvis was a 62.2. A.J. Arcuri was a 58. So although Arcuri had a nice block on that first play of that drive, didn't end up grading out as well for Pro Football Focus. Those aren't my grades. That's Pro Football Focus, which is not the way Michigan State officially does it. I'm just throwing that out there as something to chew on. Anyway, all right, so you're asking about what happened. We're getting back to F. Pandero and the question of the week, what happened to Michigan State's offense in the second half? All right, so now it's 4th down and 2, 46-yard line. You put number 9 in there. Walker's going in at running back. And you're asking, were there second stringers that were their backups at fault? On 4th and 2, there were a couple of backups in there that have not played much this year. And on 4th and 2, Walker was stopped. From where I was looking in the press box, I'm kind of down at the other 20-yard line, and I thought that he made it. When I looked back at the TV copy, if you judge if the yellow line that the TV network put up, if that was accurate, then it was probably a pretty good spot. I mean, he probably didn't make it. I think he lost a foot on the spot anyway, but I think he probably was a few inches short. The way they spotted him, he was maybe a foot and a half short, maybe a foot short. But I thought it was close. Anyway, the tight ends on the left side, Michigan State on that play had Trenton Gillison as a tight end and Warren, the walk-on for Mississippi State, the commissioner's son. What's his name? Is it Warren, MSU tight end? I forget. It's number 40. What's his name? Powers Warren. Powers Warren was in there. Really, one of the first significant plays Powers Warren has ever played at Michigan State. And 4th and 2, and Gillison allowed penetration to a defensive end. And, Gillison had a difficult angle on the defensive end. He had to try to reach and cross face and scoop him out of there. That was difficult, but he allowed penetration to that guy. And then Warren was like an H on his hip, and he went for a cut block on a defensive end and missed that cut block. So both defensive ends, maybe one was a defensive tackle, one was a defensive end, one was an outside linebacker. I don't know which, but 2 Western Kentucky guys penetrated and bounced the play, and that's why Kenneth Walker had to shake and try to lunge just to get those 2 yards. You're asking, were there backups playing that particular play? Michigan State had the ball 4 times in the second half. That one, they got stopped on 4th and 2, and it was a backup running back who didn't do the job. But Jarvis got beat. Simmons been running a little hot and cold. We talked about that on the Underground Bunker message board. For Michigan State to take the next step as a team, they would like for their second string running back, Simmons, to really come in and be an excellent, 1A, 1B type of guy. But right now there's a drop-off because Walker is one of the best in the country. And Simmons, led the team in rushing last year. He's okay. But Michigan State's second running back, there is a drop-off for Michigan State to remain a contender in the Big Ten East. And if Walker continues to be hampered by that injury, Michigan State needs some more effectiveness and explosiveness out of that running back position. So Simmons, technically a backup, got stopped. Not all his fault on that 3rd and 2. The 4th and 2, the 2 backup tight ends that were in there didn't get the job done. They gave those 2 guys an opportunity. Now, Tyler Hunt had missed a couple blocks, and Connor Hayward has been somewhat of a reliable player. Not sure why he wasn't out there. Maybe they just want to give a couple different guys a chance to block. Parks Gissinger has been used as a blocking tight end earlier in the season. Didn't see him utilized in this game. Burghorst was dressed in pads. His father's been very sick with COVID. I don't know if he missed some practice or not, but Burghorst hasn't gotten on the field this year much, if at all. Last year he played special teams and a little bit here and there. And there was a question that's coming up. Someone was asking about him, but I might as well say that we don't know much more about Burghorst. So when they go to a 3rd and a 4th tight end, and it's Warren and Gillison, and they fail in that situation, that's not so good. Now, Gillison's a guy that has started in the past, who's become a 4th stringer. Another sign of the roster getting a little bit better, but it's not like Michigan State is great at tight end. But the way they've shuffled around the talent to put Hayward at tight end, that was a real good internal recruiting move and player personnel decision, because Hayward's been a nice impact player at tight end. So Gillison's guy's been on the field. He's been a starter. He's been hot and cold. He delivered a nice big play reception in the Pinstripe Bowl a couple years ago against Wake Forest. Last year was starting a little bit and became injured. But, a guy that's kind of flatlined a little bit. He's got a ceiling of potential, but this late in his career, for whatever reason, he hasn't really gained a lot of traction. But here it is, 4th and 2. He's in the game, and he doesn't get the guy blocked. So not good for his chances. Powers Warren is a guy that played a little bit at Mississippi State early in his career, and then last year not much at all with the new coach, Mike Leach, and so forth. Didn't really have use for him as a tight end. But, former walk-on. And I think he's a walk-on guy at Michigan State right now, but he had a chance on that play, so Gillison and Warren didn't get it done on that 4th and 2 stoppage. Let's go over here to the chat area, and we'll talk a little bit more about what went on in that drive, or Michigan State in the second half. Let me check something here. First of all, I need to let people know that this nonsense is going on, so bear with me for a second. I appreciate everybody showing up. Remember to give us a thumbs up and also become a subscriber to this channel if you're new to it. Oh, also, go check out SpartanMag.com. We need more subscribers over there, paying Magger members. We appreciate those people that are Spartan Mag subscribers. We've been doing it since really the beginning of the internet and having a great time with it. First of all, I need to, sorry about the feedback there. I'm going to put it out on Twitter that this nonsense is going on. Give us a thumbs up. SpartanMag.com. If you go over there right now, you can subscribe for free. Also, by the way, Cole Cabana got a scholarship offer from Dexter. His teammate is the tight end commitment from 2023. Cole Cabana, a really interesting, great name, Cole Cabana. athletic running back at Dexter. So, interesting news there in terms of a scholarship offer. All right. We are live via SpartanMag. Live, a little redundant, but I apologize. There we go. I put an exclamation point there. How's that? Is that sensationalism? I don't think so. There we go. Posted that. All right, let's go over here to the chat area, check out some questions before we get back into the mailbag. Thomas Mahoney says, hi, everybody. That's the first time Thomas Mahoney has come in that early. Jonathan Gren finishing second. He's second one in. I don't want to say finishing second, but the second guy in, checking in second. Checking in from Mason, Michigan, Martian Mambo in the bunker. Martian Mambo, good to have him. Old Tuck is here. He's the bell cow. Hayden Roberts and Old Tuck are consistently among the first five in the starting lineup. Hayden Roberts from Lake Odessa. Getting ready for ice fishing season over there in Lake Odessa. Right, Hayden? Go over the crappie. There's crappie over there at Lake Odessa. Al Montgomery says, go green. So we got Old Tuck in the middle. 6'5" out of the Seaway Conference. Former honorable mention all Seaway Conference. In the pivot, coming out of Ludington, Michigan. Old Tuck. Am I selling you short, Old Tuck? You might have been second team all Seaway Conference. You might have been first team all Big Ten, all Seaway Conference. Got Thomas Mahoney on a wing, Jonathan Green on a wing, Old Tuck in the middle. We got Hayden Roberts from Lake Odessa. He's running the point today in the backcourt with Al Montgomery. Montgomery and Roberts. It's a good backcourt. Old Tuck in the middle. Good starting five. Nicholas Nelson says, always look forward to these, Jim. Thanks for putting in the work to make the sub worth every penny. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that, Nicholas. Caleb Walburn says, watching live from work here in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. All right, Caleb. Don't take your eye off the job, but we're glad you're with us. Heinfree says, let's go comp, ready to fish Hex next year at the Au Sable. Yeah, June. Got the old Au Sable fly shop coffee mug tonight. The Hex. I've never fished the Hex Hatch. I've never done the June religious experience of the Hex Hatch at night on the Au Sable. Fished there a little bit this year. Also did some all right. Sounds like we got a troll alert. Let's see what we got here. Who's the troll? Appreciate that, Noah. Let's see. Noah Sprunger just sprung to attention as the watchdog. I'm not that concerned about trolls. But if I see it cropping up a lot, we'll show them the door, but I'm not that bothered by it. Anyway, what was I just talking about? Oh, Au Sable. Did some kayaking on the Au Sable. Wonderful. Just love it. It's beautiful. And it's one of the reasons why I've got Lake Huron still number one in the Great Lakes power rankings, because the Au Sable feeds into the Huron. Now, a lot of you that are Pierre Marquette fans or Betsy fans or Platte fans, the other way, gotcha. It's controversial. It's a polarizing subject. The Great Lakes power rankings, but Lake Huron still number one. Rob South says, what's up, fellas? Aaron Mays, glad to see Aaron Hayes with us. MSU number one fan says, when will we see Russo start? I assume you're joking. Not that Russo couldn't get the job done, but Peyton Thorne's doing a mighty fine job right now. Al Montgomery says, why would you want to see Russo start when we have Peyton Thorne? Exactly. Nothing against Russo. He can do the job. Rob South says, I don't know, what do we have here? Hayden Roberts is in between Grand Rapids and Lansing. That's where Lake Odessa is, on I-96. Al Montgomery never heard of Lake Odessa. It's where I-96 Speedway is. One of the best dirt half-mile tracks in the Midwest. Nicholas Nelson says, seeing that Lake O sign on I-96 makes me smile. I know I'm over halfway to game time. I hear you. A lot of talk here about Lake Odessa. All right. Chamber of Commerce Day today in Lake Odessa. We're supporting here at SpartanMag.com. All right, looks like you guys talking about lakes here a little bit. Tupper Lake, Jordan Lake. Yeah, I've been to Lansing a million times. What do you got? You guys having your own conversation here? Appreciate that. Al Montgomery talking. Spartan Matt said it seemed like Thorne was back to throwing much more accurately, especially downfield. It's awesome to see those drop in the bucket throws from a Spartan quarterback for the first time since Cook. He's slick, man. Thorne is slick. He's smart, quick release from the hash to the outside the numbers to the far side of the field. Good job with those. The deep post to Reed early, didn't miss it. The 70-yard touchdown to Reed, a real good one. Like I said, I'm not sure if he really, on that one, if he helped complement the double route. Post corner. It's like seam corner, skinny post corner. Against cover 3. Cover 3's got a seam. Cover 3 is deep safety in the middle and 2 corners in the middle. It can also be 2 corners and a safety, or it can also be 2 safeties in a corner, but it's usually 3. Obviously 3. Cover 3, it's 3 deep zone. Single, it's a deep safety in the middle, deep corner. Those 3 are deep, keeping everything in front. So when you have 1, 2, 3, between this one and the safety and this one and the safety, there's 2 seams right there. Chip Kelly, wasn't Chip Kelly, it was Heinrich or Heinfried or whatever that guy's name was that took over for Kelly when Michigan State went out and lost to Oregon. Oregon a couple times, sped it up, Mariota deep, that hurdler, 75-yard touchdown, cover 3 seam. That was back when Michigan State, if they blitzed, 95% of the time, if Michigan State blitzed with the Narduzzi era, this is 2014, blitz, they were going to play cover 3 behind it. So blitz, seam, boom. That was an automatic touchdown, Oregon. Anyway, Baylor might have done that too early in the second half in the Cotton Bowl. Many have done it. Many have tried. Anyway, so it's cover 3, Western Kentucky. So you think you're going to attack the seam, right? Because that's where you're weak. Jaden Reed, nod to that seam. And that corner over here really reacted to it. Because number 1 can fly, right? And when number 1 gives a little twitch like that, boom, overreacts. So skinny post, and off to the corner, double move. 1, 2, double move. 1, 2, the 2's the double move. So Thorne on that one, wide side of the field, out here. Post corner, catches it. And then it was Reed making a guy miss, touchdown. Getting back to the earlier comment, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back to look at it again to see if Reed helped bait that with any kind of movement. Not sure. Anyway, yeah. Thorne, nice. Dropping the bucket throws. Now, against Western Kentucky was bringing safeties down if it were 2 or they'd go with 1. Worried about the run. Nebraska was less worried about the run because, like I said last week, Nebraska stopped the run with a standard number and they kept 2 safeties back. They had the luxury of stopping the run with a standard number, keeping 2 safeties back. And when that's the case, when you have 2 safeties back there, you can do a lot more disguising. The windows are smaller and there's more to read. It's more difficult to read. So in this game against Western Kentucky with more single safety or cover 3 or man, there's bigger windows. And Michigan State's excellent receivers with the release moves, they were getting open and Thorne was able to anticipate it. So when you've got that run threat and they're reacting to the run threat, it opens things up. So Thorne is going to look better against that for a multiple reasons, compound interest of reasons, because their DBs are not as good as Nebraska's. And they've got 1 fewer DB back there for the most part. And had more time to throw. Number 10, D'Angelo Malone, good pass rusher. I said that in the pre-snap read. The rest of them, not good pass rushers. So if you can block number 10, the other guys are not getting home. And what I said in the VCast last week is that Peyton Thorne would have time to throw, and he did have time to throw. But I still expected number 10 to get home once or twice. Number 10, I don't think ever got into the backfield. He made a couple of good plays. He stopped a zone read keeper down in the goal line. I can't remember if that was 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. with a lot of quickness. And then one time on a play to the edge, he ran it down. I think that was a zone read keep to the edge. He ran it down and kept it to like a yard gain or something. So number 10 did some good things as a pursuit guy, but as a pass rusher, Michigan State kept him quiet. But I hear what you're saying about Thorne. All right, Robert Stutter says, Rutgers defensive tackle over our center gave us fits last year. Hope we got it figured out. Great point. Last year, Matt Allen started against Rutgers, and he was dominated that day. Now, Matt Allen was hurt, missed the rest of the year. Did he get hurt in that game? Was he playing hurt in that game? I never really got a good answer on that. But Rutgers did a good job last year with some of that George Perlis tilted defensive tackle stuff that I'm not sure Michigan State was prepared for. I asked Mel Tucker about it the week after that game, and he didn't really say yes or no whether that was a surprise. If they do it again this year, it won't be a surprise. I've watched Rutgers a little bit this year, watched the Michigan game a little bit. I've not watched the Rutgers-Ohio State game yet. But I'm not sure if they're doing that at defensive tackle. If they are, you're ready for it. It won't be as much of a surprise. Michigan State against good defensive tackles of Nebraska, Michigan State had trouble in there. So Rutgers has some pretty good players. They've had decent defensive tackles in the past. I will be eager to see what those defensive tackles look like this year. But you're right. Rutgers dominated that part of the game, and that's part of the reason Michigan State got in trouble in that game. The other reasons, turnovers, of course. Nicholas Nelson says, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a beast by the time he's a senior. I think you're talking about Thorne. Mike L. says, I don't remember Cook as having as much touch on the ball as Thorne. I would agree with that, Mike, especially as a sophomore. I would agree with that. And Cook was like operating on thin ice all the time. I mean, that sophomore year, he had a charmed season. They went to the Rose Bowl, finished number 4 or 5 in the country, whatever it was. But there were a couple of plays where Connor Cook threw interceptions that were dropped, including in that victory over Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. So Thorne will have some more difficult defenses to face coming up in the latter half of the season, and that's when we'll find out more about him. But he certainly is getting the job done now, and delivering explosive plays, making good decisions. I thought he'd be pretty good. He's a little bit. This is where I thought he could be. I'm not going to say he's surprising me because I thought he played well against Penn State, and I heard really good things about him when he was coming along as a redshirt freshman. I'm still surprised that he didn't start last year, but I'm not going to say I'm surprised by this. But he's operating at the area that you would have hoped as a new starter. Wow, these questions are way back before we started. 8 Up Driver says, is anyone else worried about our lack of good open field tackling? Now, Cal Halliday tackled well. In this game, Xavier Henderson, who's been tackling really well, did not tackle well in this game. The Michigan State's corners tackled pretty well most of the game, with the exception of one play when Chester Kimbrough gave up a little hitch and missed a tackle. That was right after he'd given up a deep, I think like a 30-yard pass in press coverage. That's when he was called for holding. And the dude made like that great one-handed catch. Very next play, hitch, press coverage, hitch, and the guy made Kimbrough miss. So back-to-back plays, gives up a play, misses a tackle. But for the most part, defensive back tackling was not all that bad, believe it or not. They were executing. Michigan State was playing a lot of. Michigan State, of course, played with a lead a lot of the way. So Michigan State did more exotics and changed it up more in the red zone and had success in the red zone. I talked about that in the 321 article at SpartanMag.com on Sunday morning. But between the 20s, Michigan State was mainly 3-deep zone and cover 4 zone. And you got a lead, you don't want to give up any big plays. A few times Michigan State played press man-to-man. One time with Brantley, gave up a 60-yarder over the top. That's press man, gave up a play. Kimbrough, 40-yarder press man, gave up a play. 28-yard touchdown against Flowers when Flowers came in when Gross was injured. Slot, fade, touchdown, 28 yards. That was man-to-man. So all 3 of those were man-to-man. So, hey, Stearns is pretty good and that quarterback's pretty good. Michigan State's pass rush is not bad, but not great. So Michigan State usually would have to blitz to get some pressure. Well, not all. I take that back. They got some pressure with 4 once in a while. Point is, I just mentioned 3 plays. They're 3 biggest pass plays of the game, I would say. And all of them were against man-to-man. Now, the Flowers one was off man-to-man, but he's in the slot. They're trying to give him a cushion, but he ran by him anyway. So you got a big lead, 21-3, 28-10, 45-16, 42-16, whatever it was. What do you not want to do? You don't want to give up 75-yard touchdowns. So the best way to prevent that is to play more zone. So Michigan State played some man-to-man, but not a lot. Because if you play man-to-man, you're tempting fate a little bit. They'll go deep. You're opening the door possibly to them getting a quick strike. You want to avoid a quick strike. So you're playing cover 4, cover 3. And a lot of the cover 3, they'd show press and bail back into cover 3. So it's not like they were coming out. It's not like Michigan State was coming to the line of scrimmage and showing, hey, we're in cover 3, and just giving them that free access. They're disguising it a little bit, press and then bail back into it. So with the press and the bail, the outside was not as open. So what they were open, and also the other thing is Western Kentucky does a really good job with the bubble screens. You saw that. They're good at it. Michigan State contained it pretty well. You know why they contained it pretty well? Because they're playing zone. It's harder for a bubble screen game to get loose when you're against zone. It's easier to get it loose against man-to-man. So you're playing zone, so you're taking away the deep shot likelihood, and you're keeping a lid on the bubbles. So what do they have? If you're playing cover 4 or cover 3, they were doing a really good job with the curls and the hooks. The kind of the number 2 receiver around the hash marks. And they're just taking it, and they're pretty good with it. They moved it. And they've got a good system. And with the air raid and the pressure that they put on you, whatever you do, there's going to be an opening somewhere. Like Mark D'Antonio used to say, every coverage has a weakness. And air raids that are operated well find those weaknesses, and they find them right now. And they get it going at tempo, get you tired. Then you can't change your defense as much, although Michigan State did. Even though they were getting tempoed, Michigan State changed up pretty well, I thought. Instead of just staying in the same thing over and over and over, which some teams get caught doing against tempo. I thought Michigan State did a decent job with that. But they were giving up those underneath routes. So the tackling, I didn't think was terrible. Let me look up to see what... All right, this is the offense. I got to go back in and do it again. But, Xavier Henderson has had an all-American type season so far, but in this game, he missed a sack once when he had a chance, and he missed a couple other tackles that got out. So he's one guy that missed a couple. Halliday tackled well. Let me look at the tackling. The grades here. So Halliday was in the blue, which is like an A. He had an 84. Michael Dowell, who did not start, was ranked as Michigan State's second best tackler. In terms of raw tackling, remember I was talking about run blocking? Michigan State didn't have anybody above 70. 70 is B- and above. Pro Football Focus has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players. 15 players for Michigan State B- or above tackling. So, they were getting those underneath hooks and curls, but it's not like guys were like catching it and running free a ton, right? Here and there a little bit, but I'm not going to blame the problems on tackling. Now, maybe Mel Tucker will come at the press conference tomorrow and he'll say tackling was not good enough. Maybe he will. I'm not sure. But they put a lot of emphasis on perimeter tackling, and I didn't think it was bad. Pro Football Focus, who I don't always agree with, but just using them as a measuring stick and one thing to look at. They had Cal Halliday at an 84. Michael Dowell is an 83. Michael Dowell did not start. Darius Snow started, which I said last week could happen. Well, not that I heard that. I was just going by what I saw on film because Darius Snow was playing with a little more physicality, doing some good stuff. But Snow did not tackle well in this game. I'm not saying like all day, but he had a couple that got away on him. Third tackler was Ronald Williams, and I agree with that. He did a good job against some of those bubbles. And Ronald Williams also had a nice couple of pass defenses in the end zone. Ronald Williams had that personal foul hand to the face during their one touchdown drive where they had 3 key penalties help them get in. Other than that, Ronald Williams did not have many negatives. He tackled well. I thought he covered pretty well. That being said, you're talking about an offense that rolled up 500 yards of offense. How can I be like saying good things about Michigan State's defensive individuals when you give up 500 yards of offense? Well, that offense is pretty good. And I think they'd get at least 450 against almost everybody in the country. Now, that being said, they're probably going to lose to Texas San Antonio next game out. Because Texas San Antonio is 5-0. They beat Illinois. They beat... Who else did San Antonio beat? I wrote this last week. They beat a couple other pretty decent teams. I don't know. All right, so other good tacklers. Noah Harvey, ranked number 4 on the team in tackling, according to PFF. Jeff Pietrowski, number 5. Emmanuel Flowers, number 6. Flowers played 28 snaps. Drew Jordan graded out well. He had 47 snaps, graded out well. I'm just talking tackling. Jacob Slade, who I thought had a good game, 58 snaps. He tackled it to 73. Slade, In terms of negative, who did not tackle well, according to Pro Football Focus, the bottom 4 tacklers were Darius Snow, Chester Kimbrough, Xavier Henderson, Quavaris Crouch. So I guess that kind of goes against what I'm saying. You're talking about 4 starters right there, 3 of them in the middle of the field. When you talk about Quavaris Crouch being an inside linebacker, Snow being a nickel, and Xavier Henderson in the middle. So, they're getting those hooks and curls over the middle, and those guys were missing some tackles here and there. So I think I contradicted myself. So Michigan State, to your point, Michigan State didn't tackle great, but there were individuals out there that did tackle well. Henderson, I'm not worried about Henderson. He's going to be able to tackle well. This game, missed a couple. As far as Slade goes, I'll get back to some questions here in a second. But Slade, now Henderson on, Western Kentucky's 5th drive, when they kicked a field goal to cut it to 21-13 in the second quarter. 2nd down and 18, they hit number 2 on a slant. When I say number 2, I mean the number 2 receiver. Number 2 receiver from the outside. You count receivers from the outside in. If they have trips over there, the furthest one on the outside is the one in the middle is a 2, and the one on the inside is a 3. 1, 2, 3. That's how defensive backs identify who has who. The number 2. And they were hitting the number 2 receiver a lot. They go formation into the boundary, which means trips to the short side. They did that a lot. And when they would do it, a lot of times they'd do that right after first down. They'd immediately get into that. And a lot of times they were going to the middle guy that have trips. Even when it was trips to the field, it was the middle guy. And oftentimes it was Stern, who had 18 catches this game. It was the middle guy that was, the other 2 were doing things to get the coverage to do a certain thing, but it was the number 2 guy that was keyed as the go-to receiver. Really interesting way that they do things. Good offense. Anyway, on this one, 2nd down and 18, trips, and he hit the number 2 on a slant. Michigan State's in cover 4, and as he cleared Halliday, he caught it at 18 yards, and Henderson missed the tackle right there, got 7 more yards after that missed tackle, gain of 30. So they didn't have a lot of explosive plays, but that was one in which Henderson missed a tackle. I think 3 plays later, 2nd down and 1, Michigan State blitzes. Michigan State didn't blitz a lot. They do it sometimes, but you don't want to be blitzing an air raid team all the time. They want you to blitz. They've always been, Mike Leach teams have always been real good. If you blitz, they've got an answer for it right now. That being said, they kept 1 or 2 people into pass protect a lot more than Leach's teams do. All right, so this was 2nd down and 1, blitz. They throw a little flare out to the running back. Henderson misses a tackle and gains 4 yards. If he makes that tackle, maybe it's 3rd and 1, but they're probably still getting a first down there. And then he missed a sack a little bit later, but Henderson's having a great season. I thought I saw someone else hitting the tip jar again. Looking for it. I don't want to spend too much time. Don't want too much dead air on this. All right. So, here it is. Sam Martin. Sam Martin. Thank you, Sam Martin, for your personal sponsorship into the SpartanMag.com tip jar. Really appreciate it. And as it is, nice photo there, Sam. Is that called an avatar? Nice photo. What is that? I don't know. I don't think I want to know what that is. Anyway, Sam Martin, thank you. Appreciate your support. Sam Martin's been around a while. I recognize that name. He's been a long-time supporter of SpartanMag.com and the various types of entertainment content we provide at Spartan Mag. Appreciate it. Sam Martin says, 2-part question. 1, how do you appraise each individual offensive lineman? Not in depth, just overall grade for each, and a quick comment. This one, when I went over the video, I didn't really stop to look at every offensive lineman to see who did what well, because I think they all do well equally. I've been impressed with that second group that's come in. Luke Campbell has come in consistently and given them something, and I'm hearing great things about him as a leader on the field. Xavier Henderson was talking about that last week when they were trying to get ready for Western Kentucky. Henderson said he was on the field. There's 2 fields over there, the practice field. There's a turf field and there's a grass field. And Henderson was on the turf field working on defensive 11, 2 deep over there. And the offense was over on the grass field. And Henderson said he heard a lot of yelling over there. And he looked over there and it was Luke Campbell just lighting up some people, yelling at his teammates. Because Luke Campbell is kind of a grouchy type of, he's a good guy, but he's had it. He's in his 6th year. He's had 4 surgeries. He's not taking any crap. I got video of him last week talking about, or 2 weeks ago, before the Miami game. And he's like, I'm glad no one thinks we're any good. Let them think that. That was before Michigan State beat Miami and got off to this 5-0 start. I didn't run that video, but I might need to go find that again, because you'll get an idea of his personality. He's serious. He's grouchy. He's religious. He's got a girlfriend. Leave him alone. He's got work to do. He's that type of guy. He's awesome. Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell coming in as a second-string left tackle, and he started when they went to overtime, he was on the field. That entire second unit was on the field, plus Jarvis kicking out to right tackle. I mentioned Matt Allen made a nice block on a blitz pickup on one of those deep plays. I mentioned that a moment ago. Horst has been good, not great. Been good at times. Campbell's been good. What I like is with Campbell, that second unit, Campbell, Buter, Samac, Carrick, those 4 guys are coming in, and when you get later in the year, everybody's getting bumped and bruised and lumped and sore. That offensive line is going to be less bumped and bruised and sore. I mean, some guys are going to take some dents, but there'll be a guy ready to step in and take more reps if someone has to sit. But when you get to week 9 and everybody else that you play is bumped and bruised and battered, Michigan State's offensive linemen are only going to be in week 6 in terms of mileage, because they've all had reduced wear and tear because they're playing reduced reps. So every time I look at it, Matt Carrick's a guy that started a lot last year. He comes at right guard, and he's always grading out pretty well. Our Curry is kind of hot and cold. Hey, our Curry helped keep number 10 quiet in this game. He'll deliver some good plays. And then he had that personal foul that was not so great. But our Curry's pretty good, Duplain, I'm not seeing very many negative plays with Duplain. In terms of, last week when they had trouble running the ball against Nebraska, we talked about some of those short yardage stoppages. Jarvis had the one. We talked about that earlier. But it's not like there's guys that are consistently getting caved in. You're not seeing consistent, miscommunications and pass protection. There were a couple of times in the Nebraska game where they got some guys free on some stunts that they did well. Now these guys came up with. No, I'm thinking about something else. Anyway, I was going to mention that Western had a couple of stunts and Michigan State picked it up right, but actually I've got that reciprocated, reversed. Michigan State got a nice flushing of the quarterback with a stunt play on a third down when Slade and Barrow both got into their guy, head up, bull rush, and the defensive ends stunted, and Slade bull rush, bounced the quarterback out, and then Barrow came late with late pressure. So it was Slade with initial pressure and Barrow with late pressure, and they were involved as part of a stunt, but they weren't actually stunting. They were just doing the U part of a U game. That's what Perlis used to call it, the defensive tackle. I think the defensive tackle would make the call. If it was you, it meant you're moving this time. So instead of picking, it'd be you. A me game is me. I'm going. He's going to come this way instead of picking the defensive tackle. Is going to go to the outside. People think a U game means like the letter U, and maybe it does, but Perlis invented the stunts. He called that a U. Anyway, offensive lineman. I'm going to check the PFF grades over here. I'd have to go back out and go back in again. Let's go find it. You got a minute? So I got to go back in, go back out, find the offense. If you're new to this nonsense, give us a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, give us a thumbs down. But I'd rather you not give us a thumbs down. But I'm sure there's some Michigan fans here that give it a thumbs down. Because that's all right. That's fair game, but we appreciate the thumbs up. Run blocking. This is interesting. Montori Foster graded a 90, best on the team in run blocking. So when he's in the game, the top receivers are getting a breather, and also it's been run play all year if you see Foster in the game. And maybe for good reason. PFF loved him as a run blocker. PFF, Pro Football Focus, had no other Michigan State player above 70 in run blocking, but number 1 was Luke Campbell. Number 2 was Buter. I did talk about this earlier. Number 3 was Matt Allen. And number 4 was Duplain. Number 5 was Samac. And these are all between 65 and 69. Horst was a 64. So not great, but not bad. Carrick was a 63. Appreciate those thumbs up, guys. And Jarvis was 62. I assume Jarvis got knocked because he gave up that play on that 3rd and 1. but nobody's like bad. In terms of the ranking the worst run blockers, well, Kenneth Walker's the worst, but how often does he really run block? Not very often, just on reverses, right? Trenton Gillison, second to last. Talked about that 4th and 2 stoppage. He was out there for that. Trey Mosley, who's usually a pretty good blocker, was 3rd worst. Connor Hayward was 4th worst at a 54. And then Jalen Naylor, 5th worst. Tyler Hunt, 6th worst. Tight end blocking, not a strength. All right, let's get back over here to the mailbag. Get through a lot of these. I don't want to be going 3 hours like I did last time. You guys have things to do, right? No, I'm just joking. Appreciate you guys checking us out, looking for us over here. Good questions, by the way. All right, well, Spartan Pride asks, Comp, curious to hear your thoughts on the offensive line after 5 games and the standouts, best performers to date. Seems like some not expected to be top performers have shined, like Campbell and Carrick. I just mentioned them. I already answered that question, but thanks for posting. Spefton from East Lansing, Michigan says, earlier I read that some schools were telling recruits that Tucker could never attract enough talent to win big. I don't think we've arrived, but our 5-0 start has been impressive. Do you think it has effectively nullified the doubts sown by negative recruiters? Yes, I would say so. Solo Beer Guy from Westland, Michigan says, could you expound on Goodwin's recruitment? Do you know how often we are in contact with him and how much mutual interest there is? There's a lot of mutual interest, and Michigan State's in contact with him every day. They're recruiting him hard. Big time, top 100 offensive tackle, big man, 6'8" from Southern Indiana. Currently committed to Kentucky. Hey, Kentucky's 5-0 also. Just got a big win over Florida. Not easy to beat Kentucky for recruits. That's a Southern Indiana guy, but Tucker and Kabilovic are in there with him. Fish and Dave from Midland, where is Burghorst on the depth chart? Is he still a possibility to play, or is he going to focus on baseball? I've been wondering that myself. He dressed. He was on the sideline today. I mentioned earlier that his father's been battling COVID. I've not heard the latest on that. I did send a message to Burghorst and wished him the best on that. I just because I'd been direct messaging him when he was a recruit back when he was in high school. So I had his number, so I sent that to him. But he was dressed. He was on the field. Where's he on the depth chart? Well, he's obviously not in the top 5 because the top 4 are Tyler Hunt, Connor Hayward, and then we saw in that short yardage situation, Gillison, Powers Warren, and we've also seen Malik Hall in there. So he's not in the top 5. He's a 6. With Beasley going down, could they use him at defensive end? I don't know. He's been training at tight end. I'm not sure what's going on there. He spent a lot of time at baseball last year. Did okay. I've not heard from him, but it would not shock me if he decided to focus on baseball. Would not shock me. No inside information, just wouldn't shock me. Because at some point, you really need to hit the weights hard to be a tight end, and I'm not sure that would be in his best interest as a power pitcher, which is what he is. I mean, there have been other people that have been power pitchers or pitchers in general. I mean, the best example is Jeff Samardzija. He's a wide receiver at Notre Dame. Wide receiver lifting is going to be different than tight end lifting. All right. Griff Tannen from Hill Valley, California says, thoughts on offensive execution in the second half? Well, I'm not in favor of it, to quote McKay and my guy Brian Kelly. He's not my guy, I just said that. But let's get back to Michigan State's offense in the second half. Talked a little bit about it earlier. Michigan State only had the ball 4 times in the second half, not counting the 5th time when they're just running out the clock. All right, we talked about the 3rd drive when they were stopped on 4th and 2 when the 2 backup tight ends didn't get the block. So that's one of them. Didn't work. The other 3 drives, they scored on 2 of them. So it's not like they were totally getting drilled. However, in the first half, Michigan State ran 35 plays, had 335 yards. That's 9.5 yards per play. Second half, 38 plays, more plays, only 184 yards, only, quote, 4.8 yards per play. Not bad. But I didn't know. I just got a call from Noah. Thanks for calling, Noah, but we really don't have the phone lines open right now. We're not taking phone calls right now. Maybe I should. If you guys want to take some phone calls, let me know. We'll open up the lines. So 4.8 yards per play in the second half. Not great. But what they lacked in the second half was the big plays. The first half they had the 75-yarder to Reed and a 40-yarder to Reed. In the second half, the longest run was by quarterback Thorne, 13 yards in the third quarter. Longest run by a tailback was Simmons, 11 yards. So you're not getting those explosive plays out of Walker. Walker was, a little bit marginalized, a little bit hampered by that injury, right? So you don't have Walker in there. That changes some things. Pass plays in the third quarter, the longest pass play, 25 yards to Jaden Reed. Fourth quarter, longest pass play, 15 yards to Naylor. So it's not as bad as what we've seen in previous seasons. 184 yards is not a bad half of offense. It's better than what it was against Nebraska when they had 5 3-and-outs and only ran 15 plays. Of course, they're not playing Nebraska. They're playing a weaker defense in Western Kentucky. All right, let's look at what happened in each of these drives that stalled the drive. First drive of the second half, Michigan State took the ball over at the Western Kentucky 48-yard line. Remember, Western Kentucky began the second half with an onside kick. Michigan State was ready for it, recovered it. Michigan State first and 10 to the 48 and did not score. Ended up punting, so that's not good. But in that one, they immediately got to a 3rd down and 10. Thorne was flushed. He gained 13 yards on a scramble. That'd be the biggest running play they had in the entire third quarter. So what happened? Let me see what they did. Let me go back over this and what they did. Okay, first play of the second half, Walker inside zone gains 2. 2nd and 8, they throw to Hayward. I'm not sure. I think it was a screen or something. They sniffed it out, lost 5, so now it's 3rd and 10. Thorne keeps it. So they try a run play, and then they try something to Hayward. Can't argue with any of those. You're going to your bell cow running back. If you're up 45-16, last thing you want to do is, it just makes sense. You run the ball. You hit the 48-yard line. Secondly, throwing to Hayward. Makes sense. Last week, a lot of people were like, man, why don't they throw the ball to Hayward more? Why don't they use the tight end more? Well, they used him right there, lost 5 yards. 3rd and 10, covered, scramble, gains 13. Nice to have a mobile quarterback. They get a 1st and 10 to the 36-yard line. Then they went deep. They went deep. Good time to go deep there. Anytime you get 1st and 10 between the 40s, it's a good time to go deep. Well, they started the drive at the 48, get a first down, it's 36, they go deep. It's cover 3, middle of the field open, went deep behind, trying to get behind that deep. Even though the middle of the field was open, they tried to throw a post behind it. Probably not a good decision. Middle of the field safety came over, knocked it down, almost intercepted it. So Thorne's gotten away with a couple of those middle field shots. Interception, had an interception against Nebraska early in the game. Decisions, I don't know. It's better to make an error deep at the 5-yard line, on a deep one that way than some bad decisions like we've seen out in the flat in past years. Anyway, so now it's 2nd and 10, inside zone, gain of 4, and then after the whistle, J.R. Curry, personal foul. Now it's 3rd and 21. 3rd and 21, they did a deep out to Reed, and he dropped a first down. So that drive stalls. What happened? J.R. Curry, personal foul, 3rd and 21. Should have been a drive killer, but Michigan State came back, deep corner. Jaden Reed open, good ball, good route, good call, dropped it. Jaden Reed's having an all Big Ten type of season. He's had a great year. Not going to get on him about dropping that one. But Michigan State almost rallied back from a 3rd and 21 and picked it up. So you had the ball 4 times in the second half. What stopped this one? Personal foul, drop pass. Looks to me like Michigan State stopping themselves. Nobody individually, athletically is getting beat. Now, that being said, Thorne got away with an interception. Could have been an interception earlier in that drive. That was the first time they had the ball. Second time they had the ball in the second half, Michigan State drove 14 plays, 96 yards, kicked a field goal. Can't argue with that. That's when Michigan State took it over at their own 1-yard line, stopped. Remember that? It was 4th and goal from the 20, and the dude hit like that little slant, fell down at the 1-yard line, didn't pick up the first down. So what happened on that one? Michigan State was playing zone, and was it Halliday? Let me look it up here. Fourth and goal at the 20. Michigan State was an off man-to-man, which is a little bit different for them in the red zone. They hadn't done that at all. But it's 4th and 20, off man-to-man. Actually, it might have, I don't know if it was a man drop or a zone blitz, because they came with a little bit of pressure, and Drew Jordan, defensive end, dropped into coverage, which Michigan State did more in this game than any other game, dropping defensive linemen into coverage in some of their blitz exotics in the red zone. It was Halliday that was a little bit late to close on the number 3 receiver. Trips, number 3. I can't remember if it was a skinny post or a slant. Anyway, Halliday was late to identify him and close on him. The guy was open, catches it, and falls down at the 1-yard line. Halliday, I don't know if he played every play in that drive, but that was a 17-play drive by Western Kentucky. 17 plays. So I'm going to give Halliday a little bit of a pass there, even though it's 4th and goal at the 20. You know Halliday and all these guys are working as hard as they can. Most of these guys. Some guys are still learning. But he was a little bit late. I can kind of accept it and understand it. 17th play of a drive. Air raid, hurry up offense. They spring a guy open. So that's why the guy was catches it down to the 1-yard line. So now Michigan State takes over at their own 1-yard line, and they drive 96 yards, 14 plays. We can rip about the offensive line in terms of lack of productivity. They only produced 6 points. But when you drive from your own 1-yard line, go 96 yards, get a field goal, I mean, how can you sneeze at that? Can't sneeze at it, can't cough at it, can't vomit at it, no bodily functions at it. Banged it from their own 1-yard line with Kenneth Walker, gain of 1, gain of a few. 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line, inside zone, Walker again. So they banged it out from their own goal line with Kenneth Walker. They're trying to stop Walker. Michigan State banged it out of there. I got to go back and look at those plays again because I didn't really get a good look at those. I'll bet that's where the offensive line deserves some credit. And I've not looked at those initial plays coming off the goal line. Those are some key plays to get out of there early in the second half. What else did they do? 13 yards to Jalen Naylor on a crossing route on 2nd and 18 at the 2nd and 8 at the 19-yard line. The other team had a personal foul, which helped the drive. Peyton Thorne with a 5-yard on a counter keep read option. Trey Mosley on a curl in zone, a little short hitch, gain of 10. And then Jaden Reed press fade against Davion Williams, 25 yards down to the 7-yard line. So Naylor with a catch, Reed with a catch, Walker coming out to begin with. That's how they get down to the red zone. So now why did they get stopped? It's 1st and goal at the 7-yard line. What the hell went wrong then? They've already gone 96 yards. What we want to know is why didn't they go 99 yards and ring the bell, right? We're grading hard here. Number 11 team in the country. All right. 1st and goal at the 7-yard line, split zone. Simmons in the game. Jordan Simmons gains 5. Good double team block by Duplain and Matt Allen on that play. Now it's 2nd and goal at 2-yard line, inside zone. This time, Western Kentucky's like, we're just going to throw everybody the interior gaps, run blitz, and it was just too crowded. Simmons got caught. No gain. Now it's 3rd and goal, under center, play action, naked boot, and it was just well covered. Well covered. Nobody was open. Play action on that play. Jaden Reed staying in the interior, not even out on the route, just tight end, and I don't know who else was. So naked, 3rd and goal, the 2-yard line. Now, if Walker is healthy, you can probably run an inside zone there and run one of your plays when you want him to bounce it outside, but he's not healthy. Like earlier in the game when he bounced outside over there in the student section down there by the deep end, when he bounced it outside around left for a touchdown. That one was all inside zone run play design, but Connor Hayward was crossing as part of a split zone, and he was hooking him. He wasn't joining to lead block interior. He was joining to block to hook him on the inside. In other words, it was designed to bounce out. It's all inside zone, but it was designed for a Kenneth Walker special to bounce on that play. 3rd and goal, the 2-yard line. You could have went back to Kenneth Walker with something. Once in a while, they've done some short side toss or some toss plays, but a lot of inside zone encouraging him to bounce it outside. But with his ankle being what it was, they couldn't run that play, so they did play action boot. Made sense. Western Kentucky just covered it well. Field goal. So 14 play, 96-yard field goal. Not a bad drive. Not a bad drive. So they had the ball 2 times in the first half at that time. What killed the first one? Our Curry personal foul made it 3rd and 21. Jaden Reed dropped a pass. Second one, what killed it? 3rd and 2, they covered it. And would have been nice for them to have Jordan Walker, but that's where Michigan State needs that second back. And Simmons is okay. A lot of people are wondering, they'd like to see Donovan Eaglin get a shot at it. Elijah Collins still a little banged up, but Michigan State needs a second running back to come around and be a factor, to be a force, not just okay. They need something better than okay. Okay. Jason sent me a message. Killip, I'll get to that later. I'm going to send. Jason does a great job for us. I got to text him. All right. All right, so that was the first 2 times they had the ball. Third time, we talked about that earlier in the podcast here and what went wrong on that one. It was 3rd and 2. Simmons was stopped on a split zone. Number 0, the defensive tackle, 2-gap Jarvis, disengaged and made the tackle. Real good play by defensive tackle there. Jarvis has had a good season. He's a good player. That was not his best play. Jarvis has not had many negative plays this year, but he had a negative one there on 3rd and 2, and last week on a 4th and 1. Good player. They just need when they're designing a run to his side on a 3rd down or short yardage situation, he needs to take it up a notch. And he can, and I think he will. Something to keep an eye on. Came back 4th down, and Powers Warren and Trenton Gillison at tight ends missed blocks on that one. So missed tight end blocks on one, dropped pass on the other, and on this one, they covered it well inside the 5-yard line on the naked bootleg, run blitzed on 2nd down. That's their 3 drives. 4th drive, what went on this one? So on this one, another field goal drive to go up 48-31. This was 4:49 left, and this is a great drive. I mean, Western Kentucky had just cut the lead to 14 points. Michigan State came out aggressively. 4:49 left. They didn't. Actually, did they score with 4:49 left? I think they scored with 4:49 left. I think they took the ball over with 8 minutes left, which is a key point to make. Key point to make. Got it right here. Yeah, 8:24 left was when the drive started. So you're up by 2 touchdowns, 8 minutes to go. I love Mark D'Antonio, but you know what he would have done right there. They would have went to the run, and maybe a play-action safe pass and punted and given the ball back to Western, up 2 touchdowns with 7 minutes to go. Or maybe they run it and they break it out and gain yards and go ahead and win pound, cream, pound. But that's what they would have tried to do. New era at Michigan State. I'm not saying there's different ways to do it, but this way Michigan State's doing it, and I'm sure a lot of you liked it. 1st and 10. They just cut it to 2 touchdowns. First play, P and 10, first play of a drive. Jay Johnson's very good with play calling and play design and play anticipation. First play of drives. I've been saying it for 2 years. First play, they just cut it to 2. They got momentum. Play action, out route. Jalen Naylor, gain of 21. We talked about this play earlier in the podcast. It was press against Davion Williams, and it was a stutter, and then a nod, and an out. It's post corner. Double move, and you go back and look at it, he had Davion Williams all crossed up. Thorne right on it, 21 yards, boom. Regained momentum, regained field position, foot on the gas. First play so important. Got points on the board, turned a 2-score game into a 3-score game, going up 17. Aggressive. New era for Michigan State football. 3rd and 6, Jalen Naylor went to him again. Go-to guy. Little return route, caught it. Stiff arm, gain of 17. Riding Jalen Naylor. Really going to him, and he was delivering. With the way they were playing single safety a lot, Western Kentucky, I'm sure they were worried about number 1. So like Thorne was saying, it's good to have one on each side. They start skewing things toward number 1, meaning Jaden Reed. Naylor can deliver. Naylor, people were wondering where Naylor was last week. Naylor was open. There were 3 plays against Nebraska where he was open and Thorne just missed him. A couple of times, once on a 1st down, once on a 3rd down that would have moved the chains. Missed him because he got hit pretty hard by a physical defense. All right, so go to Naylor, gain of 17. Then they got that. I think the 17-yarder got them down to the 8-yard line. 1st and goal, the 8-yard line. Play action pass, batted down, incomplete. That happens. 2nd down, Kenneth Walker, 8-yard line. Outside zone, gain 7. Real nice run down to the 1-yard line. Now it's 3rd and goal at the 1. They run zone read. They lose a yard. Number 10, who had a quiet night, the defensive end, came in and from behind tackled it. They're doing zone read. They're doing it to the shorts to the weak side. He's reading the weak side. And the defensive end the unblocked defensive end, whom they're optioning, bites down hard on the run, pulls it out, keeps it, which was the right read, correct read. Gets tackled from behind, and he looks like, well, how did the hell did number 10 get in here? Number 10 from the backside, he beat Tyler Hunt inside. Tyler Hunt was the backside tight end, and I can't remember if Tyler Hunt had a difficult angle to get to him. Usually that's kind of the case, but he didn't get him closed off. So sometimes the guy's lined up, and it's hard to cross face and get them to reach, block, and scoop those guys. It's on the backside. Number 10 closes quickly, tackled from behind, lost a yard, kicked a field goal. So Tyler Hunt missed a block. So on 2 of these stoppages, it's tight end blocking that messed him up. Not really, not bad decisions by quarterback or anything like that. Had the ball 4 times, scored on 2 of them. One of them dropped pass, Jaden Reed, and the other one was a 4th down stoppage when the tight ends Gillison and Powers Warren missed their block. So 2 field goals, downs, and a dropped pass. You have the ball 4 times, that's what happens. But it wasn't as bad as the Nebraska game. All right, so we took a deep dive into that stuff. I know that type of thing is not for everybody, but I tell you what, football's not for everybody. Michigan State's not for everybody, but it's for you people. We appreciate you people. You're looking for it. SpartanMag for decades has been the place to be for all of it. The fun, the posts, the podcasts, the features, the columns, the X's and O's, the discussions about football, discussions about radar ranges and microwave ovens and HD TVs. You don't even have to say HD TVs anymore, right? Just every TV is HD. Showing my age. Let's go back to the message board. Mailbag. All right, says, this is from Spartan Fan 81 from Orange County, California. He says, what are the 3 top areas of focus for quality control on this team? Time to start tightening up some screws, so to speak. Tight end blocking, second string running back, pass defense. Pass defense, they gave up a ton of yards, but pass defense was good in the red zone. Go read the article I did on 321, the 321 about how Michigan State's red zone defense was good in the first half, and that's what enabled Michigan State to get the lead. Western Kentucky on offense, they're probably number 1 in the country now in pass offense. I'm sure they jumped ahead of Virginia now. I'm surprised Virginia's up there that high. Doesn't seem like their type of game. But Western Kentucky's got a good quarterback, good receivers. They do it well. They're air raid. They're committed to it. You're going to give up some yards to it. So Rutgers, I'm anticipating Michigan State will do well in pass defense in this game. And like Mel Tucker said he told his coaches after the game, he says, we're going to benefit a lot from this game because they played a team that when it goes up tempo and floods you with a lot of difficult concepts to get it all covered. And you saw Michigan State giving up some chunks in the middle, gains of 10, 12, 14, 15, comebacks, curls, some slants in the middle. Not a ton down the sidelines, 1 or 2. When they went press, they attacked them deep, 1 or 2. The bubbles didn't get out all that bad. Just those curls, those comebacks. So that's nickelback and safeties and linebackers identifying and matching up, and to do it with the way Western Kentucky can get guys into open spaces and to do it at tempo, that was a great test for Michigan State. They didn't really pass that test, but it'll make them better. Individually, I thought Kimbrough and Williams were solid. Henderson's going to be good. Gross played one of his better games. So it's not like, there were guys that was routinely getting beaten. Snow did not tackle as well as he has, but he's been a thumper so far this season. Dowell lost the starting job, maybe came back and played a little bit better in this game. They're at the linebacker level, some of the coverages over the middle. Those guys can probably stand to react to it a little bit better, a little bit quicker. Crouch, Halliday. This game, it's going to be Harvey starting, but the things that Rutgers does on offense won't be nearly as challenging as what Western Kentucky did. Michigan State could still lose the game. I don't expect that to happen, but it'll be a different kind of challenges. I watched Rutgers against Michigan. They were having some success with Vedral at quarterback with some of that power zone read stuff. So completely different prep for Michigan State on this one. And in some ways, I got to believe easier. All right. Jay Bannon from Sterling Heights says, how much has the offensive line really improved this season? You look at the film with a much better eye than I do. Well, you can look at it too, Jay Bannon. I'm sure you could check it out. Williams, he said, how much has the offensive line improved? Well, they're a lot better than last year. I mean, Michigan State's offensive line this year is pretty good. Last year, individually, they had guys that did some decent things, but they just were not good last year. And the run production showed it. I wonder what Michigan State's run production would be this year if they didn't have number 9, though. If you didn't have Walker. It would be okay. It wouldn't be great. So having that running back makes a difference. We've all seen that this year. It's been a while since we've seen Michigan State with a difference-making running back. As good as Langford was and Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State was I don't know. Bell was great, though, right? And a couple of years ago, he's the best running back in the world. So offensive line's improved. You're not seeing a lot of negative plays out of those guys. Pass protection's been good. It's improved. He says Williams and Kimbrough have started less than 5 games. How much better do you see them getting with more time? They both got an interception at a most critical time in a game. Do you see them playing more aggressive in the future? Yeah, I think Williams and Kimbrough are fine, and that's one of the reasons Gervin moved on, or has decided for now to move on. Williams struggled in that game against Northwestern, came back solid. I thought he was solid in this game. Kimbrough struggled a little bit in this game. I talked about the deep play he gave up and the missed tackle. Graydon Hard out there, Graydon Hard. Brantley came out. He got beat deep once. Brantley played fewer plays in this game, like 9 plays. With Gervin having gone to the portal for now, you would have expected Brantley to play more plays in a game like this against the tempo team, but it didn't turn out that way. Brantley only played like 9 or 10 plays in this game, which is interesting. Did not anticipate that. Thought he would play more. But, so Brantley, not at his best. He's got to bounce back a little bit. Kimbrough's got to bounce back a little bit. But those defensive backs were under a lot of stress in this game. I'm kind of, I know they give up a lot of yards, but I'm not seeing guys just getting turned inside out and getting embarrassed against a tricky passing attack. In terms of number of snaps, yeah, Brantley only played 8 snaps in that game. Interesting. All right, he says, how many spots? You're talking about the 2020 class, 22 class. We talked about that earlier. All right. This is from Terrence from Rochester, New York. He says, thanks to you and your staff for all that you do. I've been hearing a lot of fans criticize Scotty Hazelton's approach to limiting big plays in the passing game. I don't think those fans understand how hard it is for offenses to consistently drive the ball down the field using 10-plus plays in a drive. He says Mel Tucker mentioned in his first press conference in East Lansing how hard it is for offenses to be successful under those circumstances. So what are your thoughts on the defensive strategy this season? Well, it's like Mel Tucker said last week. There's certain ways you have to play against certain opponents certain weeks. They played soft against Miami because they had De'Aaron King. They played soft on the edges because they wanted to keep him in the pocket, throw it, not chase him into a play, put a fence around him, and put some of that vice pressure on him and not chase him into a play, not let him scramble out. Did not want to give up any deep plays to Rambo and the other guys, so they played soft in the corners, made them drive. They gave up 17 points to Miami. I think that's pretty damn good in any language. So like Mel Tucker says, stats are for losers. I don't always agree with that about stats. I think stats can be illuminating in some ways. But you said you've been hearing a lot of fans criticize Hazelton. I'm not seeing that right now. I mean, defense has, I think, they've been bend but don't break, but that's not what they're designed to be long term. What they're designed to be is something that can morph from week to week to what they need to do. If they're facing a De'Aaron King or an Adrian Martinez, explosive quarterbacks that you don't want to chase into a play, you're going to play it a certain way. You're going to play less man-to-man against the Martinez, less man-to-man against Miami. They did bend against Miami. They didn't break. Played good red zone defense. Nebraska dominated that game in the second half. Michigan State didn't give up many points. They almost had him down, and he one of the plays that turned that game around was when the dude got out of that sack situation and ran for 50 yards. I mean, that game changed right then. That you get a sack there, Michigan State would have ridden their advantage momentum a little bit longer, and maybe the game would have transpired a little more comfortably. All right, this game against Western Kentucky, dude, they're pretty good on offense. That quarterback's pretty good. If Michigan State had gone more press man-to-man, would they have forced more incompletions? Maybe, but there's a risk-reward on that. The risk is you could give up more big plays. Western Kentucky had a couple of big, 3-4 big plays. Hey, they put up 500, 600 yards. I understand that. Scored 31 points. In the pre-snap read, I thought that it'd be real hard to keep them under 25 points. We'll see what they do against Texas, San Antonio, and these other teams. But got a feeling that the defense and the numbers might look a lot better after the next 2 weeks. Maybe, maybe not. Hard to say that getting into Big Ten East play and saying it's going to be easier on offense or easier on defense. Maybe easier in terms of the volume of numbers that you might give up. Defense might be a little better, though, at Rutgers and Indiana. Although Indiana's defense not as good as it was last year, what I'm saying is like the defense might be better than some of the defenses Michigan State's played so far. So scoring could be different. Possessions could be more time-consuming. Not sure. But Hazleton right now, I mean, I was really impressed with what went on in the red zone defensively. Some of the cartoons and some of the exotics they did. Talked about that in the 3-2-1. In that article, when Michigan State would hold their exotics until the red zone, knowing that this team was going to give up. This team was going to produce through the air. Western Kentucky was. So in that regard, it is kind of bend but don't break. But you save your exotics for the red zone. You want to be hard to score against down there. But also some of your exotics, they have a risk-reward element to them also. If you run some of those exotics at the 30-yard line, the other team's 30-yard line, then you might give up a 70-yard touchdown. But the time to do it is in the red zone when you've got the back line, and the end zone is one of your defenders. I talked about it in the article, but so, Michigan State got them to go 3 and out the first 2 drives. Then the third drive, Western Kentucky kicks a field goal, makes it 14-3. On that one, they hit the number 2 receiver, Stearns, into the seam for a gain of 24. And then there was a 3rd and 5 later in that drive. Michigan State cover 1, man-to-man, flushed him out of the pocket, slant against, and I think Ronald Williams must have slipped because he was playing press, and then the TV, he was no longer in the picture. And when I was watching it live, I didn't happen to notice. Gain of 10, hurry up, formation into the boundary, pump, they looked deep, gain of 21 to the number 2 receiver against cover 3 to the intermediate window. That's what they were hitting, that intermediate window. And I told you in the pre-snap read that if you squat on those bubbles, at some point they'll fake the bubble and go deep. And they did that once when they beat Brantley. They tried it on this one, pumped, deep was covered, boom, went right to the intermediate, gain of 21. It's good offense. So they get down to the red zone. They're moving now, right? 1st and 10, Michigan State got them stopped. 1st and 10, Ronald Williams, good coverage on a slant. Now, in 2nd down and 3rd down, that's when Michigan State went to the Tampa 2. Cover 2, cover 2, somebody posted on the board the other day on the message here to try to explain what cover 2 is. I probably should have had some video ready for that. Maybe I'll do that next time. Cover 2 is 2 deep safeties. There's cover 2 zone, and some people have something called cover 2 man. Cover 2 man. I've always heard cover 2 man is 2 deep, man underneath, or 25, 2 deep, 5 underneath. Cover 2 man to me sounds like it's a contradictory thing, but that's what Jim Miller called it, and Steelers and the teams that he played for, Bears. And I've heard other people call it cover 2 man. So cover 2, to me, cover 2 always meant cover 2 halves. Cover 2 and the corners. Cover 2 means 2 deep safeties, and each safety has half of the field horizontally to the sideline, half the field. So the corners don't have the deep half. So the corners squat and play in the flat area, or they cloud it. You hear people saying a cloud corner, they cloud it. Now, sometimes if you're a receiver and a corner's up on you playing press, and you run him, he might turn and run with you man-to-man, or he might get depth and play cover 3. He might get depth, play cover 4, or he might hold you up for a second and let you go. If you see them let the receiver go, that means that corner is clouding it and he's playing cover 2. Safety's got halves. But that might not show itself until one or two beats into a play, and it's hard for a quarterback to see it. And if you mix up from cover 4 to cover 2, it's hard to see all those things in a hurry. So cover 2, you have two deep safeties, half the field. Tampa 2 is cover 2, but instead of having to cover the whole horizontal width of the field, they drop a middle linebacker to the deep middle. Now those two deep safeties only have to have maybe a third. I don't know if it's true cover 3, but he's got the deep middle. The linebacker just goes back at the snap. He's not showing it initially. The ball is snapped. He goes to the deep middle. Now those safeties can patrol those out routes, those cover 2 holes a lot better with horizontal coverage to the sideline. Michigan State, I've only seen them do it 3 times this year. One time against Miami, and Halliday drops into coverage as the middle linebacker. And it's called Tampa 2 because Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Monty Kiffin was the first team to do this in the NFL maybe 10, 15 years ago. So Halliday drops, Tampa 2. Mallory, the tight end from Miami, over the middle at the goal line, drops a touchdown. Remember that when he dropped that touchdown past the goal line? Halliday was playing Tampa 2, but he went too deep and didn't come up quick enough to identify it. Like Mooby says, Perlis would say, don't fall off a cliff. Don't go so far that you fall off a cliff and you're out of the play. He dropped too much, didn't react quick enough. Tight end was open, dropped it. If he catches that ball, Miami's up 14-3, and that entire game might be different. Dropped it, missed a field goal, and it remained 7-3. Michigan State turned the momentum of that game. Came back in this game. Michigan State played the Tampa 2 on 2nd and 10 in the red zone, the second red zone play of the game. Halliday was better this time. Incomplete. Ronald Williams covering again. Targeted Williams twice in a row. Williams up to the task, incomplete. Now it's 3rd and 10. 3rd and goal. It's 3rd and 10 in the red zone. Tampa 2 again. And what Hazelton said last week before the game, he says, they're so good at getting the ball out quickly that if you can get him to hold on to it for a second, if he's not exactly sure what you're in, then that plays to your advantage. So trying to maybe not trying to confuse him, but trying to get him to pause instead of just getting it and ripping it and getting rid of it. This time didn't do it. It was Tampa 2. And Maverick Hansen coverage sack. And on that one, Maverick Hansen didn't even do a pass rush move. He just two-gapped, bull rush to press the pocket. And then the next thing you know, he's at the quarterback, disengaged sack. Big play by Hansen, coverage sack. Nice job by Maverick Hansen, got off the field. That's what I mean. They're giving up yardage up and down the field. Hold them to a field goal there. Michigan State goes down and scores 21-3. Now Michigan State had to keep scoring. Western Kentucky remained dangerous. And even though it's 21-3, I don't know about you guys, but I knew that Michigan State was going to need to keep scoring, need to go well into the 30s. Even though they're up 21-3, that was not going to be enough. It was still early in the game. It was 21-3, and not much time had passed. All right, so next time they drove, they got a touchdown. Had a 60-yarder against Brantley on that one. Brantley was impressed man-to-man, beat him deep. How'd they get in the end zone that time? It was a big play for the number 4 receiver, and they completed it behind the line of scrimmage. They had 3 receivers to the left. They set a pick so they had 3 receivers to the left down there inside the 10, and the 4th receiver must have been a running back or an H, and they ran a pick for him. So you're covering these guys. And Michigan State, they had called a timeout beforehand. Michigan State had 3 over there with Van Sumeren as the 4th overhang. Came out of the timeout, and they'd moved Van Sumeren more to the middle and had the nickel, whether it was Dowell or Snow, I can't remember, but he got picked, and the number 4 receiver went out there, and they threw it to him, touchdown. And it's one thing to have 3 receivers to one side, but you're talking about flooding it over there. You got 4 receivers to one side. I can't remember if that was a short side or not, but when you have 4 receivers to the short side, it's difficult stuff to cover with a pick play thrown in, touchdown. So they got touchdown. Next time they got in the red zone, Michigan State stopped them, forced a field goal, made it 21-13. On that one, 1st and 10, 16-yard line. This is what they did in the red zone. 1st and 10, 16-yard line. Incomplete, open on a slant. Gross had him in man-to-man. 4-man rush plus a green dog. A green dog is a cross-key blitz. It's a linebacker who's going to be covering a running back. But when he sees the running back stay in for pass protection, then he goes. So they had 4-man rush plus a green dog. I think Crouch was the green dogger. Anyway, man-to-man in the red zone, which Michigan State didn't do a lot in this game, but they did it on that one. You need to show it. It's almost like a pitcher needs to show the fastball in order to get you out the curveball. So it's 0-2 count. You're going to show them a fastball out of the strike zone to change up the eye level and the speed and come back with the out pitch on 1-2, right? So this was showing them some man-to-man It's part of it. I mean, you're still trying to get off the field. You don't want to give up a touchdown in man-to-man, but they almost did because the slant was open. And that might have chased Michigan State out of messing around with man-to-man much the rest of the day in the red zone. So he's open. Gross had him in man-to-man. And one of the rare occasions where the quarterback missed him. Now it's 2nd and 10. What I'm talking about right now is they got in the red zone. How did Michigan State's defense bow up and play better in the red zone? This is the second one. 2nd and 10, 5-man rush. They blitzed Henderson. Xavier Henderson missed a sack. Xavier Henderson's been great all year. Did not tackle great in this game. Missed a sack right there. So it was a good call. Good defensive call. Brought Henderson on a sack. And like I said, usually in the air raid, you don't want to blitz them too much because they're usually really good with their counters to beat you when you do blitz. Blitzer was there. Blitz came in unblocked. Missed the sack. Threw a little completion gain of 5. Didn't totally burn Michigan State on the blitz, but got 5. Now it's 3rd down and 5. I talked about this one in the article, and I'm still not sure what the hell Michigan State did on this, but it worked, and it was pretty good. Combination coverage. It's a combination of zone and man-to-man, it looked like to me. And so I can't do video on this for copyright reasons, otherwise I'd go over it. All right, so there was a lot going on. I'm just rereading it. All right, so Michigan State, I think they switched from, I don't know if they had this, I think they had some automatics into some exotics. I'm not sure some of these exotics were called beforehand. Like on this one, if they put 3 receivers over here and only have an H over there, and you leave a corner over here, like Ronald Williams, that is showing that it's going to be zone. Especially if you put a running back out there, which is not the case here, but sometimes you put a running back out as a wide receiver and a corner goes with him. Why would you put a corner on a running back? Normally that's a linebacker guy. That is declaring before the snap that 99% of the time they're in zone. NFL, maybe they'll switch it up, but that declares it. This wasn't a running back. It was an H, and they had 3 receivers over here and an H, and Ronald Williams was still over there. So it's zone, right? Then they motioned a receiver to that side, and Ronald Williams bumped out onto him and ended up playing man-to-man on him. So what I don't know is when that receiver motioned over there, did that switch it from zone to man-to-man? Would he have played man-to-man on that H? And what if the H, stays in and pass protects? Are you going to waste a corner in man-to-man on an H? I don't know. I think he was in zone. The guy goes in motion and ends up playing man-to-man on him. That's what I don't know. That's what other offensive coordinators don't know. Did he switch from zone to man-to-man and that all get changed during pre-snap motion? If so, that's the type of crap that they did not have time to put in last year with the COVID situation and no preseason practice and no spring practice. All right, so he goes man-to-man. The 2 receivers to the field, they had 3 and 1 motion over there. There's 2 receivers to the field. Kimbrough and Gross had them in man-to-man. And then another wide receiver to the short side, Williams had him. Then the 2 tight ends that released, they were zoned up by Crouch, Henderson, and Halliday. And they had Dowell as a rat in the hole in the middle. Maybe kind of spying the quarterback, but also taking away crossers. The quarterback drops back. He doesn't know what the hell it is. I've watched that play 40 times. I don't know what the hell it was. But they were covered. And the quarterback just flushed out of the pocket, threw it away, and kicked a field goal. I mean, you can say they're not playing good defense. Watch that crap and explain to me and tell me that's not good defense against that offense. Now, you can't play that at midfield. You might give something up, but you're holding those cards to red zone defense. That was exotic. Like I said, went in motion, and the zone became man for Williams. Had him. And he had man over here, and you had man-to-man with Gross and Kimbrough over here. Gross is okay. That's where Gross is valuable as a safety, because you've got that flexibility with him that can play man-to-man on a receiver. Now, he's not as good as a corner at coverage, but he's good enough that you can do it, especially if you're not tipping off that it's man-to-man, but he can play some man-to-man too. But it's great to have that flexibility. That's why they like the Sugar Weasel. But how they got Crouch, Henderson, and Halliday to zone the interior receivers up while they were man-to-man out here? It's why combination coverage. I don't know. And I can't really ask about it because it's secret stuff. The only time I ask about stuff is if stuff doesn't work and what it might have supposed to have been. But I don't know. I look forward to seeing how it progresses from here because that's pretty good right there. All right, next time they're in the red zone. This is my last one. This is their 6th drive of the game. It's 28-13. They drive and kick a field goal. During that drive, Kimbrough allowed a deep fade. That was the pass interference. Remember the guy, it was press coverage. Kimbrough got beat. He kind of pinned his arm, and the guy had his arm pinned by Kimbrough, and the guy still made a one-handed catch for 34 yards. Great pass, great catch. The coverage was good there for a while. He did offhand jam, ran with him. His feet was okay. He was in phase, and then he kind of panicked a little bit and held the guy. He had an arm, so he kind of went UFC on him, kind of went mixed martial arts on him. If he got an arm, he took the arm and should have given him his arm back. Flag, and the guy catches it. All right. Also, then Henderson missed the tackle on the next one for I don't know how many yards that was. All right, so getting the red zone, 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line. Michigan State stiffens 3 plays. What happened on these 3 plays? 1st and 10, 17-yard line. Let me see here. Again, I can't show you film on this, copyright reasons. 1st and 10, 17-yard line. Michigan State played the zone. It was either cover 3 or cover 4. Henderson was kind of blurring it. I mean, at first I thought it for sure was cover 4, but he's kind of... And then the quarterback might not know either, which changes a little bit where he might want to go with the ball. 5-man rush plus Crouch as a green dog. Crouch ended up with a coverage pressure. Noah Harvey was in. Harvey blitzed. Crouch came late because they left a running back in, and Crouch got a pressure later in it. But it was cover 3, cover 4. Henderson's kind of blurring it. I mean, so you're really not sure if middle field's open or not initially. Then there's coverage, throw it away, incomplete. That's the whole point, to not show exactly what it is. It was zone, just not sure what was going on in the middle, because Henderson was kind of on purpose. You weren't sure if he was coming in here for full-fledged cover 3 or staying back for a full-fledged cover 4. Effective. 2nd and 10. This one was true cover 4, incomplete against Brantley. But this one was interesting because Brantley and Kimbrough are the 2 corners, and it's cover 4, but Kimbrough played inside technique on the inside, played inside technique on the receiver, and Brantley played outside technique, expecting help from the safety over there. So although Brantley was playing inside technique, that's not usually the way you play it if you expect help from a safety. So those are early things you read, and influencing what route, how the receiver is going to break off the route. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was cover 4. It conceivably could have been almost like the cover 3 lock. Cover 3 lock is when, cover 3 is 3 deep coverage guys, and one guy's playing man-to-man, so the other 2 are playing 2/3 of cover 3, and this guy's just man-to-man wherever he goes. So they're playing 2/3 of a cover 3. Durkin used to do that a lot at Florida, did it at Michigan, did it at Maryland, doing it at Ole Miss now. Trying to part of what they're doing. Although what they did last week against Alabama with the 6-man, I mean, Ole Miss is playing 6 defensive backs. What is it? It's like a 2-3. It's like a 3-2-6, which is great if you're playing Western Kentucky. And Alabama's like, okay, you want to do that? We're just going to run it on you then. Alabama just went old school 10 years ago. Nick Saban run the ball and put a hole in them. So maybe Durkin needs to go back to the drawing board on that. I think Durkin's at Ole Miss. That's not what he used to do. I think Kiffin got him to change up what he's doing. Anyway, so instead of a 2/3 lock, that might have been a 3/4 lock, where 3 guys are playing cover 4 and 1 guy's locked. The guy that was playing inside technique had a man-to-man. Ends up being like man match, because ended up being, the guy ran a fade. If he'd have ran a crossing route, I'd have looked to see if he was a man-to-man all the way across, but we didn't know. He did like a corner fade, so he just wrote him out there, man match out that way. I'm not sure. But it was zone over here. Again, combination coverage. Hadn't shown it on film. Zapped, wasn't sure what to do. Now the blitz is coming. Threw it away, incomplete. You think Hazleton's not good. 3rd and 10. A lot of pre-snap movement. Zappe goes to an audible. Kimbrough's by himself over there in the corner. Press man. The color commentator, I'm not sure who it was. Color commentator's like, he's got man-to-man on the other, up top, meaning on top of the screen. As he's saying that, Piotrowski had been a stand-up defensive end. Ball is snap. Piotrowski runs and bracket covers that wide receiver. Kimbrough had him in press. At the snap, he bails deep, get the outside to take away the top. And Piotrowski, defensive end, runs back with that wide receiver to take the bottom half bracket. They double-teamed the wide receiver with a defensive end. It's one thing to have a defensive end drop into coverage as part of shallow coverage and zone blitzes, which they did a few times in this game, including late in the game, Panashuk with a pass breakup, to play a short zone and zone blitz. It's another damn thing to have a defensive end threatening the outside and go double team a wide receiver, the underneath bracket part of it. That was something. So even the color commentator was fooled on that. As he's saying, it's man-to-man up to, as he's seeing it, it's not man-to-man anymore. And the quarterback, I'm sure that they saw press, and their automatic is, okay, we get press. He always has the option to go deep. They did it once against Brantley, did it once against Kimbrough. Michigan State played some press, but would bail, at the snap, might bail back on it or something. On this one, showing press, but at the snap, he gets on top. And if you're getting on top aggressively, because you've got help from that defensive end, you can get on top a little more aggressively because that defensive end is going to take away a comeback and a hook a little bit. So I hadn't done that all year. And 3rd and 10, red zone, quarterback is thinking it's press over here. He's going to go to the deep go route. It's snap, and he looks, and that corner is getting depth, sinking fast, and he probably saw the defensive end going there also, and he immediately crossed that off his list. Went elsewhere. So it's 5-man rush. It's a blitz. Panashuk also zone blitzes and drops and covers. It's trips to the right. And Noah Harvey's in the middle. There's 3 receivers, and the middle receiver is running a crosser, and Harvey picks him up. Like Harvey goes in front of the other linebacker to pick up the other crosser, which worked out well, but it's hard to say for this linebacker to say I've got this guy, whereas this one didn't go with the outside guy, and they had it all down. There was no miscommunication. So Harvey ends up picking that guy when he came into his area, man-to-man across, got a pass defense on that one, incomplete. Henderson, Brantley, and Gross zoned the other 2. Xavier Henderson, Chuck Brantley, and Gross zoned the other 2. So they got this bracket over here with Piotrowski and Williams. And somehow Harvey ends up picking the guy, probably zone coverage, but he ends up basically being man-to-man of the guy across after he picks him up. And they zone off the other one. So again, combination coverages. And I don't even remember what the hell the quarterback did. I think he just threw it away again, kicked a field goal. So people can believe that Michigan State's pass defense is bad, and the numbers are going to say they're bad. Just like last week, and I said this in the VCast after the game, a lot of people thought Western Kentucky's run defense was bad. In the pre-snap read, I thought Michigan State had a good chance to run for 200. They ran for 196. I said they weren't just going to blast these guys out and run as much as they wanted to. I didn't think. And they didn't. Michigan State ran the ball pretty good, but it didn't just blast it and get whatever they wanted, partly because Walker was injured. My point was, I didn't even bother watching the Army game. Army beat them 35-31. Army's a pretty good team, but Army lost to Ball State this week. Ball State's a pretty good team. Penn State beat Ball State. All right, so Army ran for 335 on Western Kentucky. Army runs for 335 on pretty much everybody. And those 335 yards really skewed negatively Western Kentucky's statistical run defense. I didn't even watch that game because they triple option. They play it differently. They're not going to play the style of defense. I didn't even watch it. This game, Michigan State gives up 500 yards passing. It's going to probably put Michigan State in the bottom of the Big Ten in pass defense, but they're not that bad. You play any team that plays Western Kentucky, it's going to put a dent in their stats. Stats are for losers. But you don't want to be last in the Big Ten in pass defense. And Michigan State's not going to be last in the pass defense all year. Might be there right now because the numbers are, what did Nebraska throw for about 280 or something? Had a few that got out on them. Hey, Michigan State's got work to do there. But I look at, Kimbrough was not perfect, but he's been pretty good in the past. Ronald Williams is good, getting better. Gross, pretty good, getting better. He had some problems earlier in the year, not seeing that as much. He's getting more comfortable. Henderson this game missed some tackles, but he's good, right? Pass rush has not been terrible, not terrible. Linebacker coverage could probably get better, and that's where they'll get in the film room and improve their ability to identify and pick up their route responsibilities in zone coverage a little better. So it's great that Western Kentucky exposed some of that, and it's all good. It's all productive. All right. Let me see if I can answer that. So those are the things I really looked into, is what the hell went wrong with Michigan State's offense in the second half. And as we showed, 4 possessions, this kind of stuff happened. The problem was Michigan State didn't have any of those like 70-yard explosive plays. So when Michigan State had to drive, they had some things go wrong that stalled drives. But whatever. Pass defense, we've been over it. We might have to shut it off here. I think we're about done. But there's a lot of other questions. Let me see if I can do these fast. Anton from Waterford says, Michigan State added transfers at left tackle and running back and decided on a quarterback already on the roster who had 1 start. Are you surprised by the offensive production to this point with those changes and everyone else back? Yeah, I'm surprised that they've been this explosive. But I knew Thorne could do this. We knew Jayden Reed could do this. We knew Naylor could do this. I didn't know the running back was going to be that good. We knew the offensive line would be pretty good. We said all summer that Michigan State was going to be better at all 11 positions on offense. I don't know how many teams in the country can say that. Now, that's improvement based on an offense last year that was not very good, obviously. And at tight end, we said that they're limited there, but they put Connor Hayward there, and they've gotten some plays out of it. So I'm surprised how explosive they've been, but no, I'm not surprised that they've been a good functional offense this year. And that's what they might boil down to be, because, but Walker's been better than expected. But Jay Johnson, he wasn't this dazzling at Colorado. They were okay. And he spent those couple years at Georgia. When he was at Minnesota, they were okay. They weren't this dazzling. He's been dazzling in some respects. So I didn't expect that. If you're a Michigan State fan, I think that's house money, pleasant surprise on that. Been pretty good. Spark Plug doesn't say where he's from. For parts unknown, he says, there's no question about the quality of analysis you bring to this website, but I have one request. Now that Michigan State has 5 games under its belt, could you provide an assessment of individual talent at various position groups about Michigan State, similar to what you do with other teams in the weekly pre-snap read? Perhaps you could do this during the bye week. What he's asking for is a self-scout. That'd be interesting. We kind of do that, like, we kind of just did that a little bit. Interesting. Appreciate that post. What do we have here? R. Kruger 05 says, does Ronald Williams have another year? Same with Bryce Behringer. Yeah, Ronald Williams could come back next year. He's a senior right now, but last year doesn't count. He played 2 years at junior college, 1 year at Alabama. Now he's a senior. Last year at Alabama doesn't count. COVID. Yeah, he's got another year if he wants it. Behringer, same thing. Same thing. If my math is right, last year doesn't count. Redshirted once already. He can come back next year if they want him back, and I think they will want him back. Let's go to Spartan MD from cloudy West Bloomfield, Michigan. He says, with the addition of West Bloomfield's Dylan Tatum, any other in-state recruits leaning Michigan State's way? For the 2022 class, not that I can think of. There's not a lot of scholarship room left. I'm sure they're still talking to some guys. But those are tight scholarships right now. Paul from Lake Fenton says, what should we look for if Michigan State is to have success running the ball against Rutgers in that tilted nose guard look? First of all, thanks 84 Spartan for remembering last year our analysis of that tilted nose guard look, the Perlis look that Rutgers sprang on Michigan State last year. He says, in other words, how do you expect Michigan State to combat that tilted nose guard look in order to have success running the ball against the Scarlet Knights? I've not looked at Rutgers yet. We'll be studying them for later in the week when we do the pre-snap read. All right. A guy by the name of Coach Izzo says, did you catch the open basketball practice? Any different thoughts than your viewing from earlier in the week? I went to practice last Tuesday, the first practice of the year. I saw some film from the open practice on Saturday, but I have to be honest, I was not there because it was homecoming for the local high school. My daughter was getting ready to go to homecoming, putting the dress on, all that stuff, pictures, the whole thing. I didn't want to miss that, so I didn't go to practice. I'll be going to practices. I don't think one's open this week. There'll be one open next week, and I didn't want to miss the homecoming stuff with my daughter, so that's why I didn't go to the open practice. From what I saw, I did see some film. Tyson Walker was better on Saturday than he was in the practice that I saw. In the practice that I saw, he took a little while to get comfortable, but then here and there he delivered a couple pocket passes and did a couple of things, and Izzo liked it a little bit. But Walker did more of that in this practice, so I think he's getting comfortable. 5 State from Grand Rapids says, based on what you know today, please rank the remaining games in most to least difficult order and draw the line where you think we go from above 50% chance to below 50% chance of winning. His attempt, he says, Ohio State versus Penn State versus Michigan versus Rutgers, Indiana and Maryland and Purdue. Oh, I'm okay. Most likely to lose, I think he's saying. He says, I think we're greater than 50% chance. Less than 50% chance to beat Ohio State and Penn State, greater than 50% chance in all the other games. Hey, I agree with that. We'll have to wait and see what Penn State looks like by November. I mean, Penn State's got to play Iowa this week. Penn State has to play Ohio State, Michigan. Penn State might not look so great by then, or they might look darn good. They might be 12-0, number 2 in the country by then, 11-0. Maybe not. Kind of doubt it. I think obviously most difficult, I'm going to say Ohio State still. I'll watch the Rutgers game this week, but getting rid of Coombs as a coordinator, I suspect they've tightened some screws there and improved some things. A lot of work to do, hard to do in midstream. They're not going to be as good on defense as they would if Ash or some of the other former coordinators that they had were still there, but they had to make that move. And I foreshadowed that move last year, right? About Coombs. Could not believe they hired him as a defense coordinator. Not that I thought he'd be bad out of nowhere, but when I saw how much they were kind of struggling last year at the beginning of the year, and you look at Coombs, who's late in his career, first time he's ever been coordinator, I'm like, man, they're Ohio State. They don't have to do that. Was not a good move. Ohio State, Penn State, the most difficult. Ohio State's most difficult. I would agree with that. Penn State's second most difficult as of now. I would agree with that. Michigan's third most difficult. I would agree with that. You've got Rutgers as the fourth most difficult. Indiana without Penix, and he's got blown out. They're kind of jumping around. Maryland, I'd throw all those in a hat right now. Rutgers, Indiana, Maryland. Iowa just stomped Maryland. You have Maryland at home, which makes it easier. Indiana's on the road, which is a little more difficult, but Penix, they got to figure out what's going on there. Rutgers just played Ohio State and Michigan back-to-back. That's a good time to play Rutgers. When they just played those two games, they put a lot of energy and spirit and emotion into those two games. Made a nice comeback against Michigan, did some good things, and Ohio State flattened them. Now can they get up for a third time to play Michigan State? Michigan State's in a decent spot on that one. And you've got Purdue as the easiest one. All right. Interesting concept. I'm not really sure if I answered that one correctly, but I agree with what you're saying. Ag Expo, that's E from Ann Arbor. He says, thanks, Jim. Haven't heard much about the freshman defensive backs other than Brantley. He says, I'm curious on whether any of the freshmen or redshirt freshmen are close to seeing playing time. Any reports on the progress of this group? No, I don't have any reports. Haven't seen, we're not able to watch practice once the season starts. Have not asked Hazelton or Barnett about it. Barnett's pat answer is usually, he's doing a good job. He's coming around, so it's kind of hard to get information on that. So Crump, you're asking about Crump, who was the transfer from Arizona. Gravely, true freshman. Lowry, transfer from Louisville. AJ Kirk, safety from Ohio. Antoine Booth, corner from Maryland. Now, Booth did not have a season last year at high school because of COVID, so understandably, he was going to be behind. Secondly, looking at Booth's high school film, I was not all that sold on that. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, maybe whatever, but I wasn't really expecting a lot out of Booth. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, not sure. Kirk, great high school film. I heard he was impressing early, not sure what's going on there. I kind of expected him to be on the field and contributing in special teams, not sure what's going on there, have not heard. Lowry has been injured. Teammates were thinking and hoping that he might be able to get back into the fold this week. Didn't happen. Gravely, I think Tucker said something about him not being involved in team activities at this point. Not sure what happened there. So I would not expect any of those guys to make a move into the playing group. Maybe Lowry, possibly. I think Kirk has the ability. I'm not sure what needs to get cleaned up there, but I would expect Booth to redshirt. Gravely, team activities, not really happening. Crump, of the 4 cornerbacks that came in, was the least highly regarded, so he has some work to do. I'm not sure where he is. But I wouldn't expect a lot of super help, although they need something with Gerving in the portal for now. Lowry would probably be the guy most likely to help, but he's been banged up. I'm not sure what he'll look like when he comes back, but they could use some help from him, I guess. Sparty from Pawleys Island, South Carolina says, wondering about our clock management at the end of the game. I figured Thorne could have burned another 3 or 4 minutes of the game just by waiting to snap. Is this a quarterback error or offensive coordinator error? Fortunately, did not come back to haunt us. I disagree with that. That you're talking about the drive where Michigan State had to answer. I think Michigan State wanted to remain aggressive, and they wanted to go put points on the board. I don't think they wanted to play the clock. So they went down there and ended up kicking a field goal, going up by 17, putting the game away. But at that time, 8 minutes to go in the game, I don't think they were in the 4-minute offense, because it was not really a 4-minute offense situation. You could say it's a 4-minute offense situation because you're up by 2 touchdowns, you want to burn clock. But I think Michigan State they felt that their offense was, there's a reason Michigan State plays up tempo, is to put a defense on its heels. And they think that there's an edge there. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So you want to play what you do and do what you do well, which you've been doing well all the game. Put them on their heels. Stay aggressive. Don't melt the clock. You have a better chance to snap quick and get open receivers and push it down the field and score points. That's what Michigan State's choice was, and I thought it was a good choice. I don't think it was a bad choice. So I disagree with you on that. He says, also curious on your take regarding the bogus targeting call. Have you ever heard a case when a half-game suspension is overturned? I would like to see this call and the hit Joyner took on the opener against Northwestern and ask the Big Ten which of these should be targeting. I'll hang up and listen. That's right. It was Joyner that took the blow to the head. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that was targeting, and it should have been called targeting. And I was stunned that it wasn't. That was a hard shoulder-to-pad blow to the head, and Joyner was really knocked badly on that game. This one was less severe. It was a forearm, less malicious. My guess, and they don't have officials available for interviews, but my guess is that Michigan State turned that in with Joyner, and the Big Ten office looked at it and told all of their officials this should have been targeting. And then this happened with Halliday, and that should be targeting too. Not on purpose, not malicious, but you can't do a blow to the head. A lot of people think it's a bad call and all that. I'm not so sure. I think by the letter of the rule, you can't mess with the head. And that one, Joyner should have been, and this one, letter of the law, I guess should be also. What I would like to see is them change the rule almost like soccer and say it's like a yellow card situation. Okay, Cal Halliday, we looked at it. It didn't look malicious. You didn't launch to make contact. The guy ducked and ran into your arm. You get a yellow card. You're not out, but it is a 15-yard penalty for a blow to the head, but it's not a red card. But you get another one, and then you're gone. That's what they need to do with that rule, in my opinion. Sun King from Parts Unknown says, Jim, what is the Comparoni Dome index on Michigan State winning the next 2 games and going 7-0 into the bye week? 56%? Next 2 games? Rutgers, I think Michigan State's going to, I'll have to look at the film, but I'm anticipating Michigan State to have at least a 58% chance to win that game, maybe up towards 60. Indiana, I'm guessing. So Indiana's got a bye week. They don't have Penix. We'll see what Michigan State looks like coming out of this game. Right now, I'm guessing Michigan State 57% chance to win that game. You boil those two together, probably 55%. But if I put it at 55%, you're going to want to bet the over on that. I'm expecting Michigan State to win these 2 games. They're going to be favored in both of them. I'm not going out on a limb. MSU 66, my buddy from Lansing here says, Comp, we've had less successful second halves in the last 2 games than we would have expected. Is it possible that in both cases the opposing coaches have made defensive changes that significantly slowed us down and we did not adjust our offensive plan accordingly? If that is so, is this a pattern that future opponents will see and use against us? I went over it earlier today in the show here. Good question. I don't see adjustments from Western Kentucky. I saw Michigan State drop a pass on 3rd down. And I saw a good cut. Yeah, they made an adjustment on the naked bootleg. Michigan State's been good with the bootleg. Michigan State did not want to run Kenneth Walker on that play. Didn't have the usual Kenneth Walker, so Western Kentucky saw the bootleg on film, covered that well. Is that an adjustment? Yeah, so Michigan State's got to, that's football. You have to keep working on things to do in the red zone. The bootleg got sniffed out a little bit on that, just like when Nebraska sniffed out the middle zone that worked so well against Miami. So in some ways, those are adjustments. You see things on film, you cover those modes of operation and those tendencies, and you make them beat you with the other hand. So there's some of that. And we went over those 4 plays and how they were stopped earlier in the podcast. You can find those. But Michigan State had it 4 times, drove 99 yards for a field goal once. That was not bad. 4th and 2, the 2 third-string tight ends got beat. I'm not going to give the other team coaching staff a lot of credit on that. Dropped a pass on 1. What was it? Like I said, they had the ball 4 times. Reed dropped a ball. 3rd and goal, the 2. They stopped the naked. Incomplete field goal. 4th and 2 stopped. Warren and Gillison, tight ends, got beat on that one. And the 4th one, zone read on 3rd and goal. 3rd and goal to 1 yard line, zone read. And good read by Thorne because the guy dove on Walker. Could not have handed it off to Walker on that one, even though I might have written that right after the game. When I watched it again, no, Walker was eliminated. And number 10 beat Tyler Hunt. So dropped pass, defended the naked, and the other 2 was tight end blocking. All right, let's go over here to the comment area. I know it's getting late, but we still have people in here. Appreciate the people with all the posts. We never opened up the phone lines tonight. See what you guys think about that. Apologize. Are we still talking about Lake Odessa over here? All right, there's a lot of posts over here. George Page, former member of Surrender Dorothy, says, "Hey, Jim, last summer you said you were buying stock in Tucker after the Fair State camp." Yes, I did. He said, "You mentioned if Michigan State wins, these cats will recruit." Any positive vibes on the recruiting front yet? Well, the commitment from the tight end from Dexter is not bad. Not a bad sign. But most of that's going to be in the 2023 class, firstly. Secondly, they are making some progress with Winfield, the 4-star wide receiver from Texas, and Goodwin, the 4-star offensive lineman from Indiana. So, yes, you are hearing good things, but it's mostly going to be in the 2023 class because the 2022 class is almost done. All right, looks like you guys are... Aaron May says, "Comp, what's the situation regarding the tight end position? I guess Gillison is out of the picture." Well, no, Gillison was on the field a little bit in this game, first time all year, and he missed a block. He says, "Is Carr hurt?" No, Carr's in there, and they're really excited about him in the future. He still has things he's got to work on, blocking and those things. And what's up with Cam Allen? I told you guys Cam Allen was too slim last spring. He looked like a wide receiver. He added 20 pounds coming into the fall, but adding 20 pounds is not enough. Got to add strength too. He's a wide receiver body, so he's got to add. He's got a ways to go. I didn't expect much out of him this year. Al Montgomery asks, "Has anybody heard how bad Beasley is hurt?" No, I've not heard. I don't know. Old Tuck asks, "Did Pierre Brooks come in out of shape?" Looks to me like he's a little bit like he could, and you guys could agree or disagree. You guys saw open practice. I think he needs to improve his quickness. Shedding a little bit of weight would help. Certainly don't want to add more. Aaron Mays says, "Do you think Michigan State needs to blitz more to apply more pressure?" In some games, maybe, but like I said, against air raid teams, you don't want to be blitzing all that much because traditionally they really know how to counter blitzes. Michigan State did blitz in this game here and there and did not get burned by blitzes. So some games, some opponents, maybe. But no, I think Michigan State was content to, and right up until the last drive, Michigan State had given up a ton of yards, but only 17 points. for a lot of this game. Now they ended up with 31. I understand that. Not perfect. It's not a great defense, but it's not the worst. Omnivore says, hey, Comp, how much do you expect the loss of Halliday in the first half to impact the game outcome this weekend? Harvey's going to start. Harvey's going to be fired up. His teammates are going to support him. He'll be fine. Jordan H. says, at Gordon Tenona, he says, Michigan losing to Nebraska. He says, yes, please. I think that'll happen. I'm expecting Nebraska to win that game. I think Nebraska's really solid in that defensive front with those two gapping defensive tackles, and those linebackers are like Iowa linebackers. Those safeties support the run too well. So they support the run. They can stop the run with a standard number. I know Michigan's got a pretty good run offense usually, but I mean, there's a chance McNamara comes out and plays well as quarterback. They're going to need that in this game. Maybe he's going to play. Maybe he's better than we know. They're going to need him to play like we don't know he can, we as observers. I'm expecting Nebraska's defense to play real well in that game. That's half the game. And then you get into turnovers, and Nebraska's got to figure out how to win and not make those mistakes in the kicking game and not make that speed option pitch to throw the game away late in the game and all those things. They have to get over that. They're 3-3. They're the best 3-loss team in the country. And they're going to be fired up as hell, Nebraska is, because I agree with what Frost said after they lost this game to Michigan State. He says, we got a good football team. I agree with him. And we've seen some Iowa teams lose games early in the year and then go on a roll. Nebraska's got a tough schedule ahead of them, but they can go on a roll and beat some teams. Now, I think they're going to beat Michigan. I could be wrong, but I think Nebraska's cycling up. They destroyed Northwestern. That's not a big feat, but that shows that Frost has these guys still dialed in and they're playing good defense. They could use more explosiveness in the skill positions on offense, so it could be a gritty 14-10 type of game. Or Nebraska could get comfortable. It's a night game at Nebraska, and Michigan's not played much in Nebraska since Nebraska came into the Big Ten. I think Michigan's only played there once. Figure that out. Michigan State's gone to that place 4 times. I think I heard that Michigan's only been there once. You think that's an accident? So Nebraska's been eager. They got great fans, and they've not seen the winged helmets come to their stadium. They're going to be frothed up and excited. Night game. It's going to be an ugly place to play. It's going to be an evil place to play. Secondly, if you're still with me, it's 11:37 p.m. Eastern time as we record this. You might want to go back in the annals and remember what Harbaugh said about Scott Frost, I think the first time they played Nebraska. Because Scott Frost was at Central Florida. They played at Michigan. And after the game, Scott Frost said, we had the tougher team. Michigan beat them 40-14 or something. It was either the year after or the year after that, 2 years after that Central Florida really rose up, went 12-0, had a real good team, beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Then the next year, Scott Frost is at Nebraska. They're playing in Ann Arbor. And a lot of the pregame hype it up Michigan stuff was like, we're going to show them. Their coach said that you guys weren't tough last time. Their coach, when he was here for Central Florida, he said that they were tougher than you. Are you going to take that? You're going to prove yourself. The negative motivation thing. Bulletin board stuff, which Michigan used to be the best at. They said these things about you. That's what you do when you've got really good talent and you want to keep their attention. All right, so this is a little bit of a grasp at straws a little bit. And as that game was progressing, I remember my friend Doug Karsh on the sidelines talking about during the radio broadcast. They told these guys that they want to take it out and they want to prove something to Nebraska because Scott Frost said those things about Michigan last year. All right, Doug's the reporter. He's just reporting what he's hearing. But that's kind of the Michigan thing. Like, they said what? Well, we're going to show them now. We're going to beat Nebraska because of what he said 2 years ago when he was here at Central Florida. Easy there. Easy, Francis. That was lighten up, Francis. Michigan back then, if they wanted to feel all high and mighty about proving something against Scott Frost, maybe they would have liked to have done it the year before against Central Florida, or maybe they wouldn't have, because that Central Florida team that went 12-0 would have kicked Michigan's butt. But conveniently, they got Scott Frost in year one taking over a dumpster fire at Nebraska, and they beat him and they won that game. Did they say some stuff after the game and put the chest out a little bit like, well, they said these things, we just want to send them. Scott Frost didn't forget that stuff. Okay. Scott Frost has been dying to take out some of his agony on somebody or something. And that yapping that Harbaugh was doing back then, he might have to pay a receipt on that this weekend. I don't know. Maybe Michigan will win. I don't know. But if Michigan wins, I'll be very impressed because Nebraska's good. It's on the road. It's at home. It's at night. Nebraska's going to be all frothed up. And Scott Frost is going to be in an evil state of mind to get this done for a lot of reasons, including some personal reasons. Michigan's got an assignment this weekend. They think that they beat Wisconsin, and that's the big show that they're back or something, or they really exercised some demons and they've got it straightened out. No, Nebraska's the test, not Wisconsin. So we'll see. That's all I have to say about that. All right, looks like some people talking amongst themselves. Stephen Iliff says, Charles Brantley ready for a lot of snaps. And interestingly, he only had like 8 snaps. I said that earlier. I would have thought that he would have gotten more against a tempo team like that, playing 90. They snapped the ball 90 times. He didn't play as much, even with Gervin gone. That was a surprise. James Alexander. How will the first half disqualification hurt Saturday? I talked about that a minute ago. Who will play? What is the level of fall off? It's Noah Harvey, and he's going to be dialed in to play his best football because he's getting a chance. Peter Ewell says Nebraska will beat Michigan Saturday. It's their Super Bowl, Stanley Cup, and World Series, and their chance for redemption. I think you summed it up a lot better than I just did. F. Pandero says, what happened in the third and fourth quarter? We just talked about it. Big part of this podcast was about that. Chris Martinez says, the pre-snap reads are worth it on their own. I appreciate that, Chris, and I appreciate, once again, your sponsorship. Really do. Steve Smith 313 says massively great job on the interviews. Appreciate that. Paul Konerdijk does a great job with those also. Chris Trinum says after a month's delay, Mall 286 back for Mag Live. Great to have Chris back. Peter Ewell says Michigan State is ranked number 11 nationally in recruiting, but their per recruit point average is low. That's true. They are ranked high because of having 20 verbals. You're exactly right. I would expect Michigan State to end up with a class somewhere like between 21 and 25, maybe 25. If they get Winfield, 21. If they get Winfield and Goodwin, they could possibly be in the top 20, maybe. Spartan Marinelli 87 says, love this show. Go green, baby. I think we are for real. Mel Tucker's the man. Scott Runyon agrees. Talking about the Ricks. About the Riv, Max Barr. Drinking age was 18 when I attended state in the 70s, says John Elke. That must have been great. Sparty 94 says, best kept secret back in the day was the Olga's Bar. I was there a couple times. They had the Long Island iced teas there, right? Sparty 94. I got your back on that one. Oh, Justin Johnson saying, let's go blue, 5-0. Justin Johnson says, 5-0 beat Wisconsin. So this was the troll that you guys were talking about? Just having fun. Sparty 94 says, friendly bartender, can't remember his name. Jesse Adams says, Jesse from Mount Pleasant, do you have updates on Ricky White, Collins? Second question, am I crazy to be more worried about this weekend's game over the Indiana game? They're all somewhat problematic. You can be worried about both of them. I wouldn't call you crazy. Ricky White, I heard that things were looking good 3-4 weeks ago. Not sure what's happening there. Collins, have not heard about his health situation. Peter Ewell says, Beggar's Banquet, Bloody Marys. They also had a wine night in the late 90s or early 2000s that was pretty successful there for a while. Justin H. says, best bar in East Lansing is the Peanut Barrel. Get some King Islands and bring some friends. Jesse Adams says, thank you for your work. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Justin H. meant to say Long Island, asterisk. Peter Ewell says, lizards, penny a beer, nickel a pitcher was a lot of fun. Lizards. I remember hearing about lizards. That was before my day. Penny a beer. Nickel a pitcher. That had to have been a happy hour thing. You can't do that all night, right? Can't make money doing that, even in the 70s. Maybe it was a Buffalo nickel. They're worth a little more. Justin Johnson beat Wisconsin today at 17, 5-0, go blue. Justin's excited. Michael Corcoran, a.k.a. M. Cork, says, 225 pitchers of Blatz at Max and Dime Night at the Alley Eye was fun. I don't know the Alley Eye. Justin Johnson still excited? I guess I'll have to go ahead and ban him because it's just a matter of time before he does something uncouth. Stu Redmond says, I've heard Rutgers has not allowed a point in the fourth quarter yet this season, so the offense needs to figure out scoring in the second half quickly or put up some points in the second half. Good one there, Stu. I do not disagree. Spartan Marinelli 87 says, I'm from Lansing, Michigan, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. Green and white for life, baby. MSU making a run for the Big Ten title this year, he says. Spartan 94 says, 4th and 2 was terrible. I imagine Coach Tucker was not happy. Hayden Fisher says, you must feel pretty good about yourself. I'm talking about Justin Johnson still. Steve Smith 313 says, the deep end has been a bit shallow the last couple of games. I think they've been okay. I mean, it's been slow to fill up on top because the bottom's getting, it takes a while for it to spill up at the top. But I think the deep end's been good. I think student section's been good this year. All right. Looks like some back and forth here with Justin. That's good, clean fun. I think we're about done for the evening. A lot of posts over here. Appreciate it. Didn't have time to get to all of them. We've been doing this for a long time. I got some other stuff I need to do. Jeffrey Woolridge. I did not see this. Jeffrey Woolridge. Thank you. Ah, dang it. He posted a question, and I didn't get to it. I appreciate your support, Jeffrey Woolridge, with a personal sponsorship and your question. I'm sorry it took a long time to get to it. He says, Comp, I'm probably off, but I thought when ahead 45-31 in the fourth quarter, Michigan State should have run the play clock down a few seconds. The ball was sometimes snapped with more than 20 seconds on the clock. Is it about cadence? Okay, a lot of people do that in the NFL and some other, to bleed the clock if you have a lead. Like I said earlier, the way Michigan State came out, 8 minutes to go, 2-touchdown lead. I think they felt confident about their offense, and their offense operates best at tempo, at least in this game. So they wanted to utilize the tempo, and they made the decision, and they showed it on the first play. They just got it to two touchdowns. Michigan State went play action, deep corner, 21 yards, and they were still in attack mode. After that, incompletion, batted ball. Second one, RPO keeper, late hit, personal foul. Then they ran an inside zone for 4 yards. They're going up tempo, incompletion to Naylor, 3rd and 6, return route to Naylor, pop sweep for 8 yards or 7 yards to Hayward. So Michigan State was like, what you're talking about is a 4-minute offense. Could they have still ran those plays and bled more clock? Yes, but they would have given up something with the tempo. They wanted the tempo. That's part of what makes their offense go. So a couple of people mentioned that, but they made a decision to keep the foot on the gas and be aggressive. It worked out pretty good. Peter Yule says, is Paul Revere still around, or did they close? They closed. The building is still there, and it's all grown up with some weeds, and I drive by it a lot, and I don't even notice it. Until one day, I drove by, and I saw 2 ladies out there, looked like they were probably in their 50s. They're out in front taking a selfie in front of there. Like, hey, we're back in town. It's Paul Revere's. It's closed down. It's all got weeds everywhere, but let's take a picture. Something I noticed about a month or 2 ago. Somebody said something here about Bilbo's. Can't remember what it was. Here it is. Sea-Dog says, the real question is, when is Bilbo's going to reopen? Here. There's still a Bilbo's in Kalamazoo, right? Over at SpartanMag.com, sometimes they talk about giving out, we talk about giving out helmet stickers figuratively. If someone makes a good play. There was one year when at the bottom of the story, I'd give out Hobbit sticks. Instead of helmet stickers, I'd give out Hobbit sticks. There's only so many people that would know what that meant, so I stopped doing it. I'm trying to sign off here, but there's some compelling comments in here. I'm trying to see if there's any questions. I don't want to miss anything. I think we're probably done. It's one of these things. That's why it's not like real radio. When you're done, you're done. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any other. A lot of fired up Spartans. I appreciate everybody that's been here. We'll go ahead and sign it off at this point. It's been another close to 3 hours this time. Anyway, appreciate all the support, all the posts, and the sponsorships, tip jar contributions. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for the thumbs up tonight. If you haven't given us a thumbs up, make sure you do that. Go to SpartanMag.com. Subscribe to SpartanMag.com. Always welcoming more subscribers over there. That helps make it happen. And appreciate the support here. I'm happy for you guys, the Michigan State fans, and the great season Michigan State's having. You guys deserve it. And Mel Tucker doing a good job. And they're still going to keep tightening up those screws and getting better. They have a chance to go further from here. It's going to be fun to watch it. And we will be covering it over at SpartanMag.com. We'll be in Piscataway, New Jersey this weekend. Conan Dyke and I will have coverage over at SpartanMag.com. Make sure to check it out over there. If you're not already a subscriber, become one. Subscribe to this channel. Appreciate you guys. And we'll look to do this again next week, maybe a little bit more often. I always say that. I try to get through I got through all the questions in the mailbag today. Proud of that. And thank you for the posts and all the positive feedback. We'll see you next time. From East Lansing, Michigan, my name is SpartanMag.com. Publisher, SpartanMag.com. Jim Comparoni from East Lansing. Been watching Spartan Mag Live. Thanks for your support. We'll see you next time.